Righto, good morning everyone and welcome to the council meeting for the 16th of October, nearly Christmas. Please join me in standing for the opening karakia. Whakatai te huru te uru, whakatai te uru ki tonga, kia mana kia uta, kia mātautara te kai, aiki ana te atakura, tiho, tihuka, ihahu, tihei, mariora. Right, so before we get into it, I'd just like a wee announcement that our Citizen and Customer Services team has once again been recognised for one of the top performers in New Zealand. They recently won the Gold Award and Supreme Awards category at the New Zealand Contact Centre Awards for the second year in a row. It is also the fifth consecutive year that the Customer Services team has taken home the Industry Sector Award for Public Services, which shows the excellent work that they continue to do. The awards are determined through thorough judging process, including mystery contacts over a 10-week period, and assessing key aspects of customer service such as response times, listening quality, professionalism, and overall attitude. And these guys are the first point of call for anyone that rings council, so they're selling us well. The council is incredibly proud of our customer services team. Winning these prestigious awards year after year shows just how committed they are to providing the best service possible for the people of Christchurch. Their dedication and hard work makes a real difference to our community, and they deserve to be celebrated for their continued excellence. So well done, team. Good photo. Yep. No. Hopefully, yeah, someone may be downstairs. Don't be scared. So, and just a little aside, I have James and Kathy Duncan who have got a picture that they have created, and I have bought one. You will see the little handout on that they've on in any minute now. Here it comes round. What I've bought is the picture that you see on the front. They've sold a number of them. Did you say you're going to be at the home show? And selling these, and how many did you say you'd sold? Come on. 100. They are outstanding, and when you see it in the flesh, you'll understand why I had to have one. And I'd like to thank Kelly for getting this underway. So, well done. So, wow!
So James, these booklets are normally $10 each. That's right. Yeah, and so everybody's getting one for free.
Okay.
And also, so it's all the icons of Christchurch, and you've explained it all in. Ask the boss. Yeah, so guys, if you don't want the book, please give it to me because they're $10 each.
I don't know.
Imagine that's the original. Paper is with the original. She'll just move out of the way and be in prison.
Yeah, okay. So I'll just share briefly. I'm James, obviously Kathy. We're from Frame and Copy in North Beach, New Brighton. And so we have a printing and framing shop there. So what happened in February last year, we had a young Irish guy come into the shop with this amazing print of Belfast in Northern Ireland. And we thought, oh, wow, that's amazing. So anyway, we looked up the artist. His name was Keith Drury. He's an Irish from Northern Ireland. And we thought, oh, my goodness. So we looked at his Wikipedia profile, and he was an oil painter. He's done stuff for Pele, Barack Obama, the President of Ireland's wife. And so we thought, oh, my goodness. So anyway, one midnight I rang him in Northern Ireland. I could hardly understand what he said because he had such a broad Irish accent. And I said, we're from Christchurch, New Zealand. He said, Christchurch. He said it's one of the most well-known cities in the world. And I'm thinking, wow, that's a good start. And then I said to him, well, I don't even know what to ask you because we've never commissioned a piece of artwork before. But I said, what do we do? And he said, so what you have to do is you have to go away and make a list of everything in Christchurch you could think of. So Kath's from Blenheim, I'm from Gore. We met in Christchurch many years ago. So we met at the centre point, right? So we've been here most of our life. Kath was from royalty. She came on the Charlotte Jane, her family, and climbed over those hills into the swamp. And here we are. And so we spent 6 weeks writing down on a notepad everything from Sir Charles Upham to Hamilton Jet, everything we could think of. And then we sent that all through to Keith, and he said, right, now you've got to start to itemise how we're going to create this. And so it took him 3 months to build it. Each building is done individually, and there's one at the Isaac Theatre Royal. We donated one to them, and so we've created this as a limited edition print in collaboration with Keith. They're made in Ireland, and we frame them and stretch them here. And so there's 2 canvases and 3 prints, and it's a celebration of Christchurch because some of it you'll never see again. And I'll just tell you one short story. The picture of the old railway station, it's the hardest one to get, as you see in the book, to get a colour photograph of. There's not many colour photographs of the old railway station. Anyway, we had one guy walk into the shop one day, and he was deaf, and he saw the print because we have it in the shop, and he said, can I have a pen? And he wrote down, and he said, in the early 1960s, his father came out from Scotland as a bricklayer and laid bricks in that building. And like that just, that was really quite emotional for him because that reflected on his father. And so, there's a history of that for many of us in the city. Some we don't have anymore and some we celebrate of the new. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much for going, both Kathy and James, for all the effort that you've put into it. Absolutely outstanding, and I'll hang it on the wall.
We might see it
where everyone can see it.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have an apology from Councillor Donovan, and Yanni's here. That's good. And Councillor Goff is joining online. Pauline will move it, and I'll second it.
Sorry, I may be a possible early departure as well.
Roger that. Yep, thank you. Early departure, perhaps. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. That's carried. So, public forum. First, I'd like to welcome Lawrence, who's here on behalf of Community Law Canterbury to provide an overview of their work. Welcome, mate. Good to see you again.
Kia ora. Just going to bear with me while I organise computer screens. Oops. E ngā mana, e ngā reo, Ina rau rangatira mā, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Lawrence Kimberley, tōku ingoa. I'm the Kai Whakahere, Chief Executive of Community Law Te Turi Whānui o Waitaha, Community Law Canterbury. And I'd like to acknowledge Mayor Phil Major, and thank you for your welcome, and City Councillors, and of course the wonderful staff you have here, and thank you for the opportunity to present today. I also want to acknowledge those who've gone before me in the role of Kai Whakahaere, especially the leadership of Paul O'Neill. Paul built up Community Law Canterbury to be the largest community law centre in Aotearoa, New Zealand. So we've got quite a wide range of services and things that we do. So moving on to the next screen. We are one of 24 community law centres around New Zealand. There's one in most major cities. There are also, there are in fact 4 specialist centres now. So we have Youth Law, which is a national service for young people that's based in Auckland, but anyone from anywhere in the country can access that. Similarly, Disability Law, again based in Auckland. Ngāi Tahu Law Centre specialises in Māori law issues. They're actually based in Dunedin. And then there's a Te Arature Bridge to the Law, which is a pro bono clearinghouse, which I need to add to that for next time I do this presentation. That's also a national service, so that's where we can refer matters or cases onto a database, and then lawyers from around the Motu can pick up those cases on a pro bono basis and then run with it. So there's those 4 specialist community centres. Each of them provide all the same core services, which I'll come to. Many of us have our own areas of expertise, and we have a number here in Canterbury. So the majority of people we see are provided with initial legal advice. Our mission is to improve access to justice and to try to remove barriers to justice that people experience in the community. One of the biggest barriers, of course, is cost. Accessing legal help can be expensive. So our service is set up to be a free service for eligible people. So we're working with people who may be beneficiaries, have health issues or mental health issues, or what we might call the working poor as well. Generally, people who qualify for legal aid also are eligible for our service. So we have quite a big catchment of people and a lot of demand for our services. We operate out of our main building down in Montreal Street, 198 Montreal. We also have a wide number of outreach clinics. So we go out to Aranui to Actus every Tuesday, to the Loft in Linwood also on Tuesday. We have a clinic in Hornby, and we go to the prisons as well. So every Friday we rotate through all the prisons, including Te Wai, Punu, the youth facility as well, Te Punu Wai. The Family Law Clinic is here in the Justice Precinct, and that operates 3 days a week, and that's a drop-in clinic where those who have family law issues, can't afford a lawyer, would otherwise be self-representing, can come to our clinic and get assistance with whatever issue that they're facing. We also, of course, have a service to the wider Canterbury area. We have an area that goes from probably the north, Conway River in the north, down to Waitaki River in the south, Greymouth, and down to Haast on the west coast. So we have clinics in Ashburton, Timaru, Rangiora, Greymouth. We also have a strong relationship with Ngā Hauewha and Ngā Matawaka, and that's a really important strategic relationship we have with them. So there's a lot of things we do together, but we also do one of our law clinics down there as well. I'm running out of time, aren't I? So the kind of work we can do: preparing submissions, writing letters, representation. We've got a legal education team as well. They provide legal education to community organisations. Part of that is volunteer sector services work, which is currently, there's a high demand of that at the moment because the new Incorporated Societies Act is coming into force. There's about 29,000 incorporated societies that need to update all their constitutions and re-register. We are grateful to the council for helping to fund a service that is provided to those community groups. We also do Te Pai Oranga Iwi community panels. That's a restorative justice process and alternative to the courts for those who have a brush with the law. We have a specialist team working on that, and they do an amazing job. Kind of areas that we work in, those are all listed there. The additional one that I need to add next time is we have a specialist team that work on natural disaster insurance, which works through NZCRS, which is the New Zealand Claims Resolution Service. We are the legal provider for that, and that's now a national service. We're helping out with Cyclone Gabrielle, Muruwai floods, and a number of other natural disaster events. However, the biggest area of work is still the Canterbury earthquakes. There's a long tail and they're going on and on. And those issues are still coming in with monotonous regularity and increasing complexity. Questions?
Okay, Yanni, one.
Yeah,
Do one, everyone.
just one. I was just interested if you'd considered looking at providing a resource around environmental planning or resource management planning, and if so, what that looks like.
At the moment, we haven't gone into that. We do have an aspiration to build our capacity for a kaupapa Māori service, and that's really important to them, to that part of our community. But at the moment, we are seriously at capacity looking at those other areas of employment, family, insurance and things like that. Another area that we have a lot of pressure on us to work in is immigration. We just do not have the capacity for that, even though Christchurch has got one of the largest migrant communities in the country. The minute we start taking immigration cases, we're going to be overwhelmed. So it's really about those core services at the moment and making sure that we can address them.
Thank you. Thank you. That's brilliant. Thank you for coming in and getting us up to speed, Lawrence.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Okay, we'll now hear from Jack Swinnell, who will speak to us on behalf of the Children's University regarding to raise awareness of its program. And good to see you. I've been to a couple of these, and they're very, very exciting. They're good.
Yes, tēnā koutou, kēnā tautou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Jack Swinnell taku inua. I am the Program Manager of Te Matapuna Matatahi Children's University, and thank you all very much for having me here today. So my purpose here today is to raise awareness of Children's University, highlight our engagement across Ōtautahi Christchurch, and recognise the council's supportive role in Children's University. So Children's University is a youth outreach program or child outreach program that is delivered through a partnership between Lincoln University and the University of Canterbury. For those not aware, Children's University's aim is to raise aspirations and support tamariki to achieve their full potential, broaden their horizons, and recognising that learning takes place outside of the classroom. The program supports and encourages tamariki aged 7 to 14 to participate in exciting and innovative learning experiences that take place outside of the classroom. Tamariki voluntarily join the program through their school or runanga. They're given a passport to learning, which you can see up here in my hand here. And the aim of them is to complete a range of learning experiences that take place outside of the classroom, so extracurricular learning experiences. They can collect hours through a range of different opportunities, such as visiting what we call learning destinations, which are external organisations, attend our campus experience day, where they get opportunity to experience what a university life is like for the day at one of the universities. They get to complete a range of online activities and learning booklets. They get to get recognised for any service they do in their community. And they can also get recognised for regular activities they do, such as sports, scouts, or Girl Guides, and far, far more. To recognise and reward their commitment to learning, once tamariki achieve 30 hours and more in their passport, they're invited to our end-of-year graduation ceremony, which I know a few of you have attended here today. This is at the Christchurch City Town Hall. This is a fantastic opportunity where tamariki get to wear a graduation cap and gown, and in front of their whānau get to walk across stage and receive their certificate as a recognition of all their hard work and achievement accomplishments. This is certainly a highlight of the year, So these two maps here just demonstrate the current engagement that Children's University has across Ōtautahi Christchurch. So the map on the left just demonstrates a little smiley face, as you can see there. So this map here demonstrates the 33 schools that bring just over 900 tamariki to Children's University in 2024. We also have an additional 17 schools across the Canterbury region as well. So in total, we have 48 schools that we work with and also 2 runanga. Our focus in Children's University is working with schools from low socioeconomic communities, runanga, and schools with high Māori and Pacific student population. On the right is the map that demonstrates all of our what we call learning destinations across the community. So we have 107 learning destinations. These are external organisations that we partner with that provide valuable learning experiences for our tamariki. So these range from a range of different not-for-profit organisations and also council organisations as well. Our aim here is to provide low-cost or free learning experiences that are local to our tamariki so they can engage with them in a nice and accessible way. So on behalf of Children's University, both universities and our members, I would like to take the opportunity to thank our council-elected members and council staff for their ongoing support and mahi towards Children's University. Christchurch City Council has a long-standing involvement with Children's University and supporting getting the programme to the Canterbury region. So Children's University is actually a global programme originated in the UK and about 10 years ago was brought over to Adelaide University and then started in Canterbury region in 2019. Some of these include a staff member that was allocated to support Children's University, who was Claire Newton, who was allocated 0.5 of her role for 6 months in helping establish Children's University and really get us grounded in the community and in our region as well. In addition, 32 of our learning destinations are Christchurch City Council facilities. So you guys, have a lot of staff who support Children's University. These include all of the Christchurch City Council libraries, are all learning destinations, many of the parks and galleries, the art gallery, recreation sport facilities, and much, much more. And this building is actually a learning destination as well. So what tamariki can do with their final on the weekends or school holidays is they can come and get a little learning booklet and they can explore the building and they can learn all about the work that the council do and what it is that the council do and the involvements and the useful kind of processes that take place as well, which is an awesome opportunity, and not a lot of whānau get the opportunity to come into this building and kind of really explore what it's all about. I would also like to thank the council staff. So really my role was to really thank the council staff for all their hard work who allow our tamariki to engage with these learning experiences that take place. We've also received valuable in-kind support from the council, such as council staff member Rose Crosland, who sits on our advisory board, and also Children's University being able to access all of the amazing networking and resourcing facilities that helps us get these learning experiences for our tamariki as well. So what next for Children's University? Children's University is enjoying working closely with Christchurch City Council to strengthen our learning experiences and opportunities. The demand for Children's University is really, really strong locally. So we have 46 schools on our waiting list just in the Canterbury region who are really interested in joining Children's University. So we're looking to explore with existing and new fundings about how we can grow the programme and bring on these new schools as well. So these are just some photos from our last graduation ceremony, I believe it was. So for those who, I think an invitation might have gone out to invite everyone on council members, and I know a lot of you have RSVP'd, but what I'll do is I will circulate a new RSVP if anyone would like to attend. These ceremonies take place at the end of November. So thank you very much, and I may have run out of time, but if you've got any questions.
Yeah, Pauline's got.
I just want to quickly add something, a bit of a shout out to the Adelaide Sister City Committee, because the way you said it was an international program, then went to Adelaide, then came here, it's been a very difficult path to get it here, and they spent years actually to bring it here, working with Adelaide. So it's the value of a sister city, and they've done a lot of work, that committee, so I'd just like to recognise that. No, thank you.
It's very good, and if any of the councils get the opportunity to go, it is absolutely fantastic, because you said the word smiley faces in there. They are certainly there, and I'd just like to say Anne Galloway, a previous council, was a fantastic advocate for that.
Yes,
so
yep.
She got me along there for the first time, and it's infectious. It's really good.
And now, because of her, we're now working with Hagley Community College as well, with their migrant community as well, which is fantastic. So yeah.
Okay, so recommend anyone go along. So it's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you?
I was just going to check and see, do we know how many kids then go on to do Duke of Ed and those kind of things? Because it seems like it would lead really nicely into that.
It does. There's actually a secondary school program for Children's University that recognises volunteering service, but we don't deliver that because there's so many other opportunities around that. So we don't have that kind of data, unfortunately, but it would be really interesting. And a long-term goal is also to identify whether these Tamariki go on to higher education as well, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah.
But when we started the program in 2019, the children were quite young, so they're still kind of, not quite at that age there, but...
Thank you, Jack. That's wonderful. Thanks for coming up. Okie doke. We now have a number of deputations, mainly regarding to item 5, the main South Road, Yolthurst, Riccarton Road intersection. Luke is on Zoom, the bit of luck. Maybe not, James? He is there?
Yes, hello.
G'day, mate. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Yep, far away, bud.
Kia ora. Thanks, Phil. Kia ora, councillors. I'm here today to speak about the proposal to close the right-hand turn from Main South Road onto Riccarton Road, or whatever options now being considered. Appears there's quite a few. Council staff may argue that this is the only way to eliminate crashes at this intersection, but let's be clear, it won't achieve that. While it removes the right turn out, it leaves the left turn out, which also contributes towards crashes, meaning it doesn't eliminate the risk the staff sees it does, because obviously you can still turn left out. Wakatukahi NZTA's guidance suggests that we should first consider the measures that eliminate serious and fatal injuries, but crucially this guidance is not a requirement, it is a guidance. Other safety measures can and should be implemented, such as reducing speed limits, introducing traffic calming measures, or adding additional signage and road markings. I'm not here to criticise staff, but let's be clear, the focus of this proposal has been too narrow. Keeping the left turn onto Yolthurst means the risk is still present when they're saying that it will clearly be eliminated. By closing this right-hand turn, we're pushing traffic towards alternative intersections like Curlitz, Pier and Yolthurst, which have significantly higher crash rates than the intersection that we're looking at in question. In fact, based on data from 2014 to 2013 provided by the council under Lagoima, the Curlitz, Pier and Yolthurst intersection ranks in the top 30 most dangerous intersections in the city, while Main South Road, Riccarton and Yolthurst sits at a far lower 161. Curlitz and Main South ranks even higher at number 14, and although the removal of the slip lane may have reduced this, there is no right turn from Main South Road onto Curlitz heading towards the motorway. This entire matter does feel like it's been a waste of resources and time. This issue has already come before the community board several times now, and we're now discussing it here again at a higher level with council. With 160 more intersections dangerous than this, it's hard to justify such an expenditure especially when we're only addressing 9 crashes over the past decade, and that's what the council's own data shows, just 9 crashes. Yet the staff report says there's been 83 within 50 metres of the intersection in question. The numbers don't add up, and either staff or the data provided by the council under Lagoima are mistaken. There have only been 2 serious or injury-related crashes here in the last decade, and while no death on our road is acceptable, in an era where the council is trying to cut costs and there is little to no NZTA funding available, we must ask, is this the best use of our resources? The statistics provided by the council do not support turning right out of Main South Road onto Riccarton Road in the name of safety. Should a compromise needed to be made by councillors today, then I would support a full signalisation of the intersection and retaining the right turn out of Main South Road. I'm also concerned about the traffic islands that have been installed outside the Woolworths on Riccarton Road. As a road user myself of a moped, I find this intersection incredibly dangerous now with the amount of cars that then speed up and then obviously cut you off, only to turn via left again to get onto Main South Road. So thank you for your time, councillors, and I hope we can find a way forward for the entire community.
Thank you, Luke. That's very clear. Has anyone got a question? I think extremely clear what you've said. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Righto. So now I'd like to welcome Derek and Mike on behalf of the Greater Hornby Residents Association, please. How are you, man?
Mike Mora, the Vice Chair of the Greater Hornby Residents Association. Thanks very much for the opportunity to come to talk to you today. As we all know, it's been through the community board several times, and the decision was made to pass it to the council to make the decision. We've all heard the arguments, what I'm feeling today is and you'll hear from our councillor and others that a solution's there, something that will work for everybody, and still improve the safety at that intersection, and that's what we really want to do. So Cheryl has been out inspecting the intersection and taking photos as well. So you will hear from Cheryl, and then I'll wrap it up if you like, Cheryl.
Yep. Okay, thank you. I'm just a committee member for the Greater Hornby Resident Association, and my job is liaison between the council and the board, and as a fundraising person. So I'm just going to got bullet points here to just read out for the whole organisation. Main South Road, Curlitz Road is frequently congested and it's majorly at peak times that it is really, really overpowering. The Eldhurst Piers frequently congested and it is critically at peak times. And in the photo, there, I took the photos on Tuesday morning, just after 9 o'clock. There was a crash at that time, just before 9 o'clock. So there was a lot of congestion there.
But that wasn't at that particular intersection that we're talking about today,
It was
Cheryl?
Eldhurst and Curlitz Road.
Yes.
Next point is, trying to move peak hour traffic from Curlitz Road to Eldhurst Road at peak hours is guaranteed to cause 3 times the number of accidents on Eldhurst Road, Pear Street, Curlitz intersection. Then has been seen in all of the Eldhurst Pier, Riccarton Road, Hanson's Lane area. Next point. Yesterday at 9 a.m, when we arrived after the supposed morning rush, there had been an accident at the Eldhurst Pear Street, Curlitz intersection, which was bad enough to involve the police, the fire service and ambulance. The traffic had built up, causing major congestion further down Curlitz Road towards Blenheim Road. Next point, at approximately 9:30 a.m, Riccarton Road, Hanson Lane was clear of traffic. And the next point is, at approximately 9:50 a.m, on returning along Main South Road, Curlitz Road, it was not too bad, but it was still congested between Blenheim Road and on Curlitz Road at Blenheim Road and Main South Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. And Derek was with Cheryl yesterday when they did that. So anyway, but getting back to it, I've got 1 minute and 45 seconds. It's just really, really pleased that there will be a decision made on this today. And as we say in the Hornby and Greater Hornby Resident Association area to staff in the organisation, please do it once and do it right. And I know there's been all sorts of
iterations?
Yes, on it. And as we can see, there's been a lot of staff have done a hell of a lot of work on this. And if we just staff had listened to the people very, very earlier in the piece, we wouldn't be, we wouldn't have needed all that staff time and all that preparation, because I think there'll be a decision made today that everybody's happy with and can live with, and people will be able to move safely in that area. You cannot take the idiot's foot off the pedals of the car that they're driving. We're always going to have issues like that. But what we want to do in this part of the city is have that flow that people can, you know, can get through there safely. So that's it from me, really.
Thank you. I've got two. Jake?
Thanks, Mike. Hey, thanks for outlining some of the issues at the intersection. Does your group have a view about which option would be better? We've got one that's clearly safer, both that don't really have any congestion impact.
Well, after talking to our councillor and today, we're going with the option. I think that understand that there's a feeling around the room here today that the decision will be made, and we just hope that it's the right one. So if you're asking me, Jake, for which particular one we wanted, I haven't got a number on this.
No, that's cool. You
These
just want
options.
improvement and a clear decision made
Yes,
so
please.
today,
Yes,
ideally.
please.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Yanni, I'm letting this go because it's had,
Yeah,
might
I
as
mean,
well have more airing.
I had a
Yanni,
similar,
then Sarah.
I had a similar question, but the responses actually led to a separate question, which is many of our staff, have the submitters seen the proposed options that are in front of us today? Because I would like to know from the submitters who are coming in, which is the option that they're supporting. And if they haven't seen it, or they don't know what the options are, then is there a way that we can give them a copy of the option?
Yeah, it's going to. We're voting today to send two, maybe a third, two out to consultation, and they are the two that Mike's talking about.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. Thank
So,
you. Righto.
Yanni,
Thanks, Mike. Yep.
the detailed one options that I've staff were kind enough to forward to us this morning is the first time we've really seen it in colour and to understand it, the alternate designs without actually sitting here and thrashing it all out. We hope that everybody understands it and we can get to satisfactory solution today.
And did you agree with the previous submitter that this intersection isn't the top priority in terms of safety, or would you see this as being a top priority?
We think it is a very high priority.
Okay, thanks, Yanni. And Sarah, please.
Yeah, mine was kind of like that last one. You agree that something needs to be done.
Yes.
It can't just be left the way it is.
No, but what we want is the traffic still to flow in those directions safer.
Okay, but you recognise that if we, for example, put traffic lights in that are there all the time and not just pedestrian lights, the traffic lights actually stop the flow of traffic more frequently than pedestrian lights.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Thank you. And
Can I have one question?
yes, Derek.
Thank you. The calming that's already been done outside Church Corner, is that going to be a decision today to take it away or not? Because I've been waiting on the bus there for about 3/4 of an hour one time, and there was nearly 6 incidents where cars, when they're verging from Hanson going into that one, yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
certainly not our best work. From what I'm led to believe, that has, because that part was done under delegation with the community board. It has to go back to them. I would like to see it added to, but we'll see if we can add it to the consultation document. But I don't know about the decision.
And it's a good about having the fence there outside the Troy Library. I agree with that. Yes.
Yep. Good on you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Brilliant.
you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I'd like to welcome Liz Orr on behalf of St Peter's Preschool, please. Hello, Liz.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Liz Orr toko ingoa. Thank you, Mr Mayor and team, for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. I really appreciate it. As previously stated, my name is Liz Orr, and I have the privilege of being the head teacher at St Peter's Anglican Preschool in Upper Riccarton. We are located within the triangle of Curlitz Road, Main South Road and Yoldhurst Road. We are a Christian multicultural preschool, and 34 out of 38 of our families are recent immigrants into our city and land. The team at preschool are passionate about supporting each family to integrate into a new city, in a new country and new culture. We aim to support and empower our children and their families to grow towards becoming integrated into New Zealand society while still retaining their home culture. There are many challenges our parents face as they settle into their new land, and we want to support them to achieve success, including being able to actually get their child to and from preschool as easily as possible. Our preschool has been open for 5 years, and during this time there have been many accidents at this corner. Many of these accidents have been caused by drivers not stopping at the left-way turn into Yoldhurst Road from Main South Road, or from going too fast around the corner. It doesn't make sense in my mind to punish every driver at this intersection for the sake of the very few who choose to bend the rules to suit themselves. Would it not be a better use of council resources to put a traffic camera in this corner to catch those who don't stop or speed and get some extra council revenue at the same time? The council, sorry, I've just got to change now. The council has a goal of reducing road deaths and serious accidents by 40% by 2030, based on the statistics I have already quoted, that I have seen. This equates to reducing serious accidents by 1.8 accidents over 10 years. That is based on the information in the agenda that states there have been 83 accidents on the Main South Riccarton Yolthurst Road corner over 10 years. 3 of these accidents have involved serious injury. I've also heard that this corner has approximately 35,000 traffic movements through it per year. I.e., over 10 years, that's 350,000 traffic movements. When you take 83 accidents over 10 years, it equates to 0.000237114% of traffic movements that cause an accident, i.e., 99.97626% of vehicle movements through this corner are safe, which seems fairly high to me. If you focus only on serious accidents, which are 3, the numbers change dramatically. It equates to 0.0000857% of vehicle movements cause an accident, i.e., 99.999143% of vehicle movements through this intersection are safe. One of the practical ways we support our families is by providing a van service to pick up and or drop off children. If you chose to close the right-hand turn from Main South Road onto the bottom end of Riccarton Road, this would restrict our efficiency of van services because some of our van runs do involve turning right at that corner and going down Riccarton Road and off to other areas. Our van drivers are concerned that some of the van runs may have to be altered or discontinued because there is simply not enough time due to traffic congestion, which has already increased. I'm not here today purely in the interest of ease of our van service. I'm here today because I'm concerned about the implications on traffic flow for all forms of transport that closing the right-hand turn at this corner would have. I appreciate the safety concerns the council team has around maximising the traffic flow for all who use this busy corner: cars, buses, trucks, bikes, scooters and pedestrians. This controversial corner is at the apex of the road surrounding the church/preschool property triangle, and it is a major arterial road. It is the intersection of major arterial routes into the city from Selwyn, one of the fastest growing areas in the country. It includes Lincoln, Prebleton and Rolleston. It also includes Sockburn, Templeton, Hornby and Hei, and areas to the west of the city, including Avonhead, Ilam, Russley, Yolthurst, West Melton and even Darfield, many of which are growing. Therefore, we need to maximise traffic flow through this intersection in an efficient yet safe way. I was present at the question and answer session in this council chamber on October the 1st, where Mr Mayor came up with a common sense solution of putting traffic lights for vehicles to turn right and for pedestrians and cycles to use to cross the intersection. This would slow down right turning traffic from the present rate, but seems to me the most equitable way of keeping all forms of transportation moving. Even if it's not the cheapest, it still seems to be the most efficient use of council resources in this corner to me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Liz. Very good. Thank you. That's great. Tyler, you had a question?
Kia ora,
Thanks for
Tyler.
coming in, and thanks for putting the time in on that. I've got a question around the kindergartners and how many preschoolers or families walk to St. Peter's on a normal day?
I'm just going through the families that I see walk. I want to say around 8.
Okay.
The majority come by vehicles,
Okay. Thank
either
you.
ours or their own.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. That's brilliant. Okie doke. So now I'd like to welcome Diane, please.
Hello.
Hello, mate.
I'm representing Concerned Ratepayers, a growing community organization. You'll be seeing this angry little road cone more often. Okay, So my understanding is that traffic management first presented their idea of how the whole Church Corner area should be changed to the community board for approval after spending who knows how many dollars on architectural drawings and a video flyover before any consultation happened. I've been told staff need to make designs first so that ratepayers can know what they're voting on. Seriously. In reality, ratepayers feel that if a design has been drawn up, the decision has been made, and therefore there is no point in voicing their opinion because it won't be listened to. This approach, I feel, is highly insulting because it assumes there's no collective wisdom among the community who lives in the area and those who travel through the area and all who have to pay for it. There are engineers, surveyors, designers, etc., with all kinds of expertise that would offer suggestions for free if only they were asked. Instead of paying consultants megabucks to do, I'm not sure what, why weren't the people, the experts at using the area, asked open questions how they would improve the roading before any drawings were made? Actually consulting with the people who use the area would help restore confidence in council. The Local Government Act 2002, Section 82, states that there needs to be consultation with those that are affected by or have an interest in the decision. Section 1 has not been adhered to, in my opinion. Consultation means not only the few hundred living around the immediate area in question, but all those that use the area, in this case, travel through an intersection. This failure of process is true for many cases around the city. Yes. When asked, Traffic Management admitted Tuesday, August 6th at a workshop that they hadn't even physically visited the site. This is unbelievable that they could assume they could make the best safety plan without first studying the site themselves on site and just rely on, I don't know what, maps and consultants. Did the consultant study the traffic flow in the area on site? All times of the day and night, different days, weekends, school holidays, and school days. Was it done on site or remotely? These are important questions that need answers. There are 5 schools and 2 preschools in the immediate area that I know of. 3 of the 5 schools are charter schools that draw students from all across the city to attend. Therefore, were the parents of the students given a chance to have their say before the designs were made? The shopping centers draw many people to the area, and the shop owners may have been consulted, but what about the customers who mostly drive to the shops? There are also all the commuters who weren't consulted but are affected by this decision. Consulting the community first may take more effort in the beginning, but will take less time and money in the end because you will not have annoying ratepayers fighting your plans because they will have been part of the process from the beginning, and money won't be wasted on unworkable designs. The removal of the 2 slipways in the area has increased congestion, forcing cars onto previously quiet, narrow streets to avoid the added congestion. Traffic congestion equals frustrated drivers who make bad decisions, which makes more accidents. I can foresee that there will soon be a suggestion to charge congestion fees to remedy this problem that council has actually created. From a Lagoya request, we can see that many other intersections around the city have higher numbers of both serious injuries and minor injuries than Yaldhurst Road, Rickerton Road, Main South Road intersection. Of the 83 accidents here, there were 3 serious or deaths and 6 minor injuries, which makes the majority of accidents, 74, ones with damage to cars only. If people are the focus of making intersections safer, why was this intersection chosen over others with a much higher injury or death rate? The planned new extra signal pedestrian crossing, which is a 2-minute walk from the already existing signal crossing, which I have done several times to time it, will do absolutely nothing to stop the people from jaywalking across Rickerton Road from the private supermarket car park to reach the specialty shops across the street. I suggest a fence be placed down the middle of the raised median on Rickerton Road, as the council has down many roads and intersections around the city. The new cement barriers that suddenly make 2 lanes of traffic into one in front of the supermarket that also nudge cars towards Yaldhurst Road before allowing cars to then suddenly turn left onto Main South Road serves absolutely no purpose in help making this intersection in question safer or making any part of the area safer, but in fact has the opposite effect in many people's opinion. If money needs to be spent to reverse some mistakes, it will be money well spent if council learns its lesson to actually consult ratepayers, the experts who use a given space within the city first before any designs and changes are made. Thank you.
So, Tyler, you had a question?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to get some clarity on the group, essentially. So are you a local group or is it from all around the area?
As it's a growing group, right now it's concerned ratepayers Canterbury region,
Okay.
but we will be establishing more local groups as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good on you. Thank you, Diane. That's great. So now we have Stephen and Anne on behalf of Spokes Canterbury. Please, welcome.
Kia ora. Good morning. I've usually been in this chamber talking for myself, but this time I'm speaking for Spokes Canterbury. I'd like to say clearly that Spokes Canterbury prefers option A. We thank the staff for the work they've done. It's a very good solution. The area has a lot of vulnerable pedestrians. It's close to 4 schools. There are elderly pedestrians crossing from medical centre, pharmacies and shops. Option A is safer without the right-hand turn because that right-hand turn has contributed to so many crashes. We support the signalised crossing across the intersection and the addition of the westbound cycle lane. Other options that retain the right turn are a less desirable solution from our point of view. We do recognise that it's removed the merging lane, which has caused many crashes. But will drivers get impatient to go fast into a traffic gap and miss the red light of signalised crossings? I think that's likely to happen. We've seen that happening in other intersections around the city, notably one near where I and my council live in Marshlands. There's an increased risk to pedestrians and cycles, which saves a small amount of. It's a small cost and time for those people wanting to do that right turn to use the other intersections. There are lots of alternatives to doing that right turn by using things like Blenheim Road or other roads. So it's not a great loss if people plan their routes effectively. Local residents should be the priority. It's the desire line to cross that road as a pedestrian is there, and not everybody is prepared to walk down to Hanson's Lane to cross and walk back. We've seen people crossing there across traffic. There's also the fact that people will be trying to cross the road to use buses. If we have an option that is chosen that is allowing that right turn, there should be a review date to see how well it's working and a revert to something like the option A with the right turn band. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, you've still got tons of time. Any questions, please? Yanni, please. Mel, you got one? Do you? Maybe.
Sorry, just to be clear, you don't support us going out for consultation on the new options?
If you are going to vote for the new options, they should do, because they're not things that have been, the new options have not been put forward to concerned parties. But option A is pretty close to an improvement on one that has been consulted, and that's one that we would be keen on.
Yeah. So
I think if we went for A, then I don't think more consultation is needed, because it's so similar to what's been consulted. If you go for some of these new options, then I think that needs to be consulted.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the clarity.
Aaron?
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. You said we should go for an option that favours locals and the local residents, but a number of them have come in raising concerns. So we should be listening to their concerns and voting that way, is what you're saying?
A lot of these groups are talking about the residents that are in metal boxes and driving cars and not thinking.
Which is the majority on the road, yeah.
Yep, there are people who are trying to cross the road. There are people trying to cross the road at the moment when the intersection is bad. So they're risk taking because the intersection is not doing the thing that they want it to do.
So when you say cross the road, so not at marked intersections, you mean just across?
Anywhere between Hanson's Lane and the church corner, there are people trying to cross because they're not prepared to go to one or the other. There isn't a sensible crossing out in the Oldhurst corner, the Oldhurst Recton corner.
You support people crossing like that, or the previous submitter raised putting a fence in the middle so people wouldn't behave
So
like
they're
that?
more frustrated, and only the people that want to climb a fence will cross there. So you will get more of them going.
They'll
that way.
be fit and fast. So they'll...
Okay. Radio.
Now, the thing is, if people are trying to cross there, there's a desire for those users to get across there, and building a fence is a Trumpian solution.
Right.
We should be allowing for the people that want to use that road the way they want to use it, not just the ones that are trying to speed through there.
Yeah.
Can I just say something that this is my area? I mean, I use this area all the time because I only saw this yesterday. I could have brought in a presentation showing you all of the difficulties of a pedestrian or a cyclist trying to cross here. I'm surprised that 8 families from the preschool actually walk because it is so dangerous. It's just so impossible to get across the road. And this is a really good solution. And I think once you put it in, then a lot more cyclists and a lot more pedestrians will use this. I've seen elderly people all of the time trying to get across here, and it is really, really difficult because they're slow and that traffic is fast.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming in. That's good. Thank you. Okay, we're now up to item number 4, which is presentation of petitions, which we haven't got any of. Okay, so now we will move on to number 5, which is the one of the day. Main South Road, Riccarton, the Oldhurst intersection improvements. Now, what you see on the screen and what... Oh, hang on. Yes. Now, how do I do this, Mary?
So they're just going to put them up now.
Yeah.
So
Is it done? Yeah, we've got a new one from... Who's moving it? You gentlemen? Tyler's moving it, Mark's seconding it, of a variation there for putting out traffic signals 3, which is what it is, which you've all seen the picture, or traffic signals 4. Now, I've got an amendment from Sarah who would like to add in, this is going out for consultation, these two, is that right? Add in the original one to go out for consultation as well. One's nodding and one's shaking. The seconder isn't. So that means we'll have to put that, will we?
Yeah.
Okay. So would you just like to highlight what?
Debate, questions and debate first.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. Do we need the presentation? Because that's a lot of... Anyone want the presentation?
I think it would be...
Just interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Fire away with the presentation.
Tēnā koutou. So we'll assume the report's been read. This is just a quick brief overview as to where we're at. The staff recommended option A in the report looks to eliminate the risk of a crash involving right turning vehicles from Main South Road, given the crash history and the frequency of the crashes of a specific crash type occurring. It also includes a pedestrian and cycle crossing as per the notice of motion that was passed by the Horswell Hornby Riccarton Community Board. The report also included option B, which wasn't recommended, which did retain the right turn and manage the risk of the crash involving those right turning vehicles. And it also included the pedestrian cycle crossing as per the notice of motion. Traffic signals were not originally proposed when we went back out this time, when we went out for consultation this time last year, where we had the full cul-de-sac option. The option originally eliminated all the risk of crashes involving turning traffic from Main South Road and provided the additional benefits for public space and for people walking and cycling. There would be minimal delay for traffic, including buses travelling on the main road, which is Yoldhurst to Riccarton and back again. It included a zebra crossing on a raised safer speed platform for people to cross Yoldhurst Road because we didn't have any turning traffic from Main South. It was a simpler layout. And at the time, the additional costs associated with traffic signals. Now we are considering traffic signals. It's looking to manage the risk for road users, particularly those turning right from Main South Road. It does introduce some delays to traffic, including buses travelling along Riccarton and Yoldhurst and back again. But the changes we've made to the scheme that you see in options 3 and 4, it has been value engineered. It's very down to what's essential to get in there. So the cost difference between what we went out with in the original cul-de-sac option and what you see in options 3 and 4 is about the same in terms of costs. So traffic signal plan 3, which is a signalised seagull, manages the risk of right turning crashes because you can only turn right when you get a green light. The eastbound traffic will only stop when the crossing is activated, so you still have to do the merge between if you want to travel down Hanson's Lane and for those right turning vehicles wanting to access Waimari Road. There's a staggered crossing, which does introduce some delay for people crossing rather than a straight through crossing. And 2 trees do need to be removed. They are still subject to an assessment by an arborist. We just haven't got around to getting that bit finished. Traffic signal plan 4 is effectively a full signalisation. It manages the risk of the right turning crashes, again, similar to traffic signal plan 3. The eastbound traffic does not need to merge or cross, so it simplifies the whole layout at that location and reduces that crash risk in addition to the other crash risk at the intersection. Pedestrian and cycle movements are simplified. There's just one stage crossing, and the small section of bus lane allows easier access into and out of the bus stop on the north side. So that's where we're at.
Thank you. Is there a way for us to, through this consultation, move towards or consult on removing the 3 islands that have appeared in front of Countdown?
So we can look to take feedback on those. We weren't specifically going to ask a question. It was just going to be whether you preferred this option or this option. But I do understand that we will receive feedback on those islands anyway. And given that we will be if we signalise the whole option, that actually we could just reinstate both the left lane down to Main South and have the right turn, because that the issue currently of when you're turning right out, you're looking that way, you can't and you don't understand where people are going. Now that you're held on a red signal and you can only proceed on green, that risk is removed with the full signalisation.
Very good. And another question too is around the fences to help manage the pedestrian movements. Is there a way we can build that into this plan and consultation? Because that's something which obviously you've heard this morning from deputations that the community are aware of and thinking it's not a silly idea.
If we're looking at option for option 3 and 4, we're not actually looking to do any works east of the intersection, and that's just to try and keep the cost down. So we'd leave that as is. What we would propose, if one of those options went ahead, we would monitor it, and if needed, we could come back at a later date and install fencing. And just to confirm on your previous question as well, Councillor, we would bring something back to the board about those islands as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Just being that we only got these sort of yesterday, just so a few questions here. The original design and the staff recommendation, the staff recommendation one, that would fit within the current budget?
Yes.
Yeah. And so the fully signalised one with the traffic signals, how much more expensive is that?
So it's just looking at the figures, it's pretty much some extra traffic signal poles and ducting, and with a couple of extra weeks of traffic management. So I'd say about 120,000, 150,000 more.
Okay, that's cool, thank you. And do we know if there's anything that would be dropped for that amount of money? So within the safety budget, so $100,000 might do a couple of different pedestrian refuges or crossings around the city. So do we know what would get dropped off the bottom of the list from which wards and things for that?
So it's my understanding that the Stephen will be going around the community boards in the next month or two, outlining what the safety program looks like for the next 3 years.
We shouldn't think it would have a
huge impact.
Spending a bit more here shouldn't have a massive impact on the overall budget because we do allow a bit of float.
Oh yeah, I know, but it does mean that we could do less in other wards if this happens. Is that right? Safety
Potentially,
things.
yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. And you've talked about the delays for buses, but it's actually delays for, if we put the traffic lights in, it's delays for all traffic, isn't it? So do we know how much those delays might be for regular road users?
So the modelling that we've done over the past week, the delays aren't significant. It's probably around, I think it was 11 seconds, and the difference between options, traffic signal plan 3 and traffic signal plan 4 is about 3 seconds. So in terms of 4, where everyone stops to allow the right turnout, it doesn't create huge extra delays over traffic signal plan 3.
Okay.
But yes, in stopping traffic to allow the right turnout, there will be some delays for all traffic.
Cool, thanks.
With the islands Mark was talking about, so they were decided at the community board meeting, is that right? So they kind of made a mistake, is it what just is?
It wasn't a mistake, it was more that the initial design proposed would require them more than signals would. By signalising it, we're removing the issue that those islands were trying to address.
I see. Right, okay. Look, I'm going to ask a really dense question. With number 4, so there's just one set of traffic lights going across to the medical centre, isn't it? It's quite hard to actually read the maps. It's a pedestrian. Where are the traffic lights? Is my question.
There isn't a clicker. So where the blue limit lines are for traffic is where you would see a traffic signal pole. So if you're travelling west, is there a clickery thing, Sam? Okay.
Because there's blue lines all over. I should have asked yesterday.
Okay.
Perfect.
Fancy. So there would be traffic signals here, there would be traffic signals here, and there would be traffic signals over here. So the left turn from Main South Road's just on a give way slip lane that you see at other intersections. So this traffic would be held on a red light while traffic's going east and west along Riccarton and Yoldhurst. And then when these right turners need to go, they will stop, and the pedestrian crossing can work at the same time because there's no conflicting traffic.
Can you explain number 3?
Sure. I'll give it a go. So for 3, there's traffic lights here, here, and here. However, only these 2 kind of work together. So eastbound traffic will still be able to come through here unless a pedestrian calls this crossing. So they can keep going, and then the right turners from here can come out here and do the crossover that a lot of people try to do to get from Main South to Waimari and from Yoldhurst to Hanson's. So at that time, this traffic will stop. So when that right turn goes, again, this part of the pedestrian crossing can go, but these will only get a chance when they push the button and wait, and then that's when that traffic has to stop.
Yep.
Does that help?
Yep, that's super
Okay.
helpful. That's good.
So we heard from a number of submitters today that they didn't see this as a priority and that there were other intersections that had a greater need for safety intervention. I just want to be really clear. Where does this one rank in terms of our priority of dangerous intersections?
So this one does sit in the top 3%. It's not in the top 1%, but the issue at this intersection is that reoccurring crash type. So at no other intersection have we had 76 crashes involving right-turning vehicles. So it's the consistency of the crash type that's happened over 10 years, which is why we've got the focus at this location here.
Right,
and
sorry,
we have had 3 serious ones.
Can you just help me understand, like, we heard not just the 1 or the 3%, but in terms of the list of intersections that are on our priority list, is this 10, is it 11, is it 113? Where does it sit in terms of the intersections, in terms of our priority list? Not as percentage, but actually as a number?
It was in the original report. I believe it sits at around 1, 2. I thought it was in the report. I will confirm it, but it sits more around the 120, 130 mark than other intersections.
Right. So what other intersections are a higher priority that aren't funded are on our list?
I would have to get that list for you and send it through.
Well, it's a bit like to Sarah's point though. If there's other intersections that are actually a higher priority on our list and they're not currently funded, and we're going to go out and consult on options that cost more and mean that less will get done in terms of priority, then I think it's kind of important that we know that.
Through the chair, councillor, what Gemma is trying to explain here, and what the point of difference for this intersection is, nearly all the crashes involve exactly the same type of movement. We may have other intersections which may rank higher statistically, but the crashes are more varied and random, so it's actually harder to deal with them all. Whereas here, there's such a consistent issue that we can actually deal to that issue quite cleanly.
Okay. Are you able just to give us an understanding if the post-construction safety audit has been done of the works that were mentioned by submitters that were referred to creating a more dangerous environment?
So the post-construction safety audit will be undertaken next week. We're just finishing the road marking this week, and the signals commissioning needs to be done as well. So at the minute, the traffic signals aren't being optimised because the loops haven't been connected. And the safety issue with the islands, we have been monitoring it. We are getting better behaviour in terms of indicating, but there is still and people are slowing to do the merge, but it is still new. So as soon as that audit comes through, we will look to do any intermediate kind of issues. Hopefully, if we get approval for the final option this side of Christmas, we would like to build it early next year, and then we could remove the islands if that's part
And just
of the
the
plan.
final question from me is, some submitters have said they've questioned why we would even spend money on this, and I get the rationale that you've put forward to us. But I guess what I was interested in is to understand, how do we at a governance level choose the priorities for these program budgets? Like, did we make a specific resolution to put this as a project in the long-term plan? Or is there, like, how does this project just start at a governance level? Where's the first point that we approve that the money allocated should be spent on this specific location?
So that comes through, this project is being funded through the Minor Road Safety Program, which is a line item in the long-term plan. That gets kind of pulled together through 2 main routes. The high-risk intersections is through what we call the pipeline development tool that Wakakotahi developed, and we worked through a staff to come up with the intersections that need to be looked at from a high-risk perspective. And then also we get a lot of requests and feedback from the community. So they all go into a big list, the ones that the community submit on. And Steve will talk about this more when he comes around the board, but ultimately it's prioritised on risk, equity, access, and one more. And then that list will be coming around to the boards for the next 3 years shortly, and then you can all have your say on whether you think it's right or if
So sorry, just to be clear, because
Okay, mate.
you've got...
So you didn't make a specific delegation on it.
And you did say fondly.
No, yeah, I know, but just in terms of the question the previous question, what I was trying to understand at a governance level, at our level, when do we sign off on what projects go on that list?
It's a through the chair, as we highlighted yesterday through the annual plan workshop. At a program level, we prioritise those programs based on the criteria Gemma's mentioned. We will be coming around the boards to seek feedback on that program and prioritisation, and there will be some allowance for movement in there, and we have to allow that for lots of reasons. But ultimately, we prioritise the programs based on the data that we have.
Okay.
So it's a staff
Thank you.
decision.
Yes. Thank you. Aaron.
Yeah, so two quick questions. First one is, and Yanni did ask it, but one of the submitters said that the intersection's ranked at 161, so that's not correct.
That's not correct. It is slightly higher than that. It's probably around the 130, but I can send that information.
Yeah, just an update. It's not it's that relative. Now, the other one is, and it's probably more to the mayor, in our options, since we're going out for consultation, and it's been raised by a number of the submitters that they don't like any of the options, can we have do nothing as an option to the public, since we're open and transparent and take in all ideas? We could still ignore it if that's the majority that comes back, but can that be in the consultation document?
That would be, well, status quo or do nothing's always an option for council. In terms of the consultation document, that's similar to Sarah's motion, is that she wants a additional one, which is staff recommendation. You'd need to add in an option.
So I need to do an amendment for that, just to give the public. I'm not saying that's my choice, but it sounded like that was coming from some of the people. So if they have that as an option, it'll be good to know if that's the feedback we get.
Your one is do nothing.
Yeah, I do. Heward Breen's Gardens intersection, but you've constantly voted against it. So.
Yep, righto. Okay, Samuel.
Can I just correct that? Actually, Jake and I both voted in favour of the Brains Heroes lights, and I'm really quite.
Can I raise the correction?
Grumpy.
No, you didn't many times.
Okay, steady on. Sam, you.
It's still 12 months away, people. The look, I just have one question, which is hearing the feedback, and I guess if we think through the process of how we've got to this point, the board have referred it to council. Given we've been able to steady the ship, so to speak, can we just send the final decision back to the community board? So can't we do the consultation and send it back?
Through the chair, because this is a signalised intersection, it would need to come to. If it was decided that it was going to be a signalised intersection, that would be a decision for council anyway.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. So just that's fine. Completely get that. So then, how do we in the future, and maybe it's something we can take away as a team and have a think about, how do we ensure that we have all the options on the table? Because if they're limited at community boards being, or what you're saying is community board could have recommended traffic lights if they'd asked for it, but it would still need to come to council for a decision.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay, cool. So we can't send it back. Okay.
Happy, Victoria. Christmas is coming.
Thank you, Mr. Head. Can I just double back to something that Councillor McDonald's asked, because we've had the issue in relation to Cranford Street in our ward. So if it's a light signalised and it has to come to council, does that mean that some of the options will be decisions made by the community board and a component of the decision will be made by council? So is it going to be a split decision?
Correct. Yeah, the signalisation part would always be a council decision on recommendation by the community board.
Yeah, okay, thanks. The second issue I want to raise actually is doubling back to something that Councillor Johansson asked. Can you help me understand, please, the sequencing and timing of the safety audits? Did I hear you say that actually you haven't completed the safety audits yet, and so we're looking at options to go out for consultation, but we haven't seen the safety audits? Is that normal practice?
So in this instance, in terms of what's been done to date, everything has been through safety audit. We have only just finished construction on site, but we're still finishing construction on site to get the post-construction one done. In terms of the signal ones in here, they will go through a safety audit while we're out for consultation. It's been through a traffic signal design review initial by professional engineers. So we are comfortable with the current designs. We've highlighted the risks for the two options, especially traffic signal plan 3, which does still have that outstanding risk related to the merge. But we will get those safety audits done by the time it comes back to council for a decision.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, yep, thank you. Sarah? Done. Tyler, please.
Kia ora, team. Good to see you. I've got a few questions. The first one, if we're able to talk about the prevalence of T-bone crashes, on top of your head, how many other instances do you have those kinds of intersections within the city? Such a frequency of T-bones within the city. Is there any other intersections that are similar to that?
I'm not aware of the same level of crash type at any other intersection.
Great. So it's quite an anomaly to see such a frequent amount of T-bone crashes within this intersection. Yes. Great. The next question is, we had some community groups from outside of the area come in and give some deputations just earlier on. And they were talking about the culture of drivers, talking about bad drivers and say they'll get frustrated and make bad decisions. Would you be able to elaborate a little bit more on what you think they might be talking about, and how are you trying to mitigate that in terms of trying to, I guess, slow down the prevalence of bad driving instances to mitigate crashes?
I think in this situation, it's a relatively unusual and complex layout, and that leads to, or can lead to, poor decision making, and that's probably one of the big contributing factors to the crashes that are occurring. So by removing those complications on the road, you're going to remove the potential for those crashes to happen. Signalising it manages those crashes, or manages the risks. It doesn't remove the risk; it manages it. And by giving people a red and green signal, that makes it a lot clearer. It removes that complication. So hopefully it should lead to a much better outcome.
No, that's great. And Crystal, this might be for you. I just wanted to talk about the local voices that are going to be involved. If the alternative recommendation did go through with traffic signals 3 and 4 alongside Sarah's amendment, what's the consultation process look like through the next fortnight?
Yeah, so we'd look to go out to consultation as soon as we could get it up, and we'd share it with all the groups who've previously communicated with us about this project. So that includes anyone who's come to make deputations as well, and obviously the local community, so the local schools and shops and users of the intersection. We expect that it will probably take care of itself in terms of promotions. There's quite a lot of interest in the consultation, so we'll make sure that it gets out there.
Great, thank you so much. And the last question was on comparison for traffic signals 3 and 4. Are you going to bring forward, I guess, the risks and the advantages and disadvantages of each intersection throughout the consultation paper?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. They will be available online with plans to say what the advantages and disadvantages of each option are. We can include the costs of the different options. There isn't a huge variation, but the 2 traffic signal ones are slightly more expensive than the staff recommended option A.
Sure. And if we're looking at the status quo, what people are talking about, of doing nothing, I mean, there are risks within doing that too, correct? Which
Correct.
means changing nothing, therefore continuing the instance of T-bone crashes.
Correct.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
We have 2 questions and then we have 15 minutes. Break. Okay, so we have Melanie and then Mark, and then we're having a break.
For cyclists going along Riccarton and then going into Yalthurst Road, where the cars are turning, continuing along Main South Road, they're going to be crossing over them basically. Is it nothing in these options really seems to mitigate that? Is there a way of incorporating that in somehow? Because
Correct. So through the safety audit process on the staff recommended option A, it was raised as an issue, and we added some coloured surfacing. It's not a expensive solution, but hopefully in marking out the cycle lane with that colour, that people will be more conscious that people will be travelling straight through and not all turning left. However, I think, and through Councillor Harrison-Hunt, we have received feedback that it would probably be useful to sit down maybe with some people who ride their bikes through here to understand how they use it, how they feel using it, and what other options we could consider for safer crossing movements for people on their bikes.
Yeah.
So we can do that through the consultation process.
Awesome.
No matter what option is picked ever, they're always going to do that.
I know. That's why we want to mitigate it through this process.
And lastly, Mark, please.
Thank you. I'm right if I point out that NZTA were upgrading their next intersection up, weren't they? When
They
this all
were
started?
going to, yes.
Yep, and that's no longer happening.
No longer happening. It involved road safety platforms, which are no longer funded by the agency.
And we've got lots of platforms in these proposals.
Correct.
in-
So they're a traffic management solution for reducing the severity and likelihood of crashes. There isn't any funding to support those. However, as a road controlling authority, it's still your kind of decision to put them in or not based on staff advice.
Just getting back to the Councillor Coker's query there about cyclists, they have to obey the traffic signals as well, don't they?
Everyone has to obey
So
traffic
they
signals.
can't just go
yes.
through the red, putting themselves at risk.
Correct.
So that's comforting to hear. And then just thinking about intersections in general, seeing how it's so dangerous to travel through intersections without, and having regular crashes, should it perhaps we close all intersections in Christchurch to mitigate crashes at intersections?
No stuff. Righto. We're having a cup.
Question.
We're having a cup of tea. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
We need to ask Tyler and Mark whether they're
Yeah, we're going to be on.
willing to be
So we'll go 11:20.
Excuse me.
Welcome back, everybody. We think we know where we're going. Aaron, you have a question?
Yes, it was just around the amendment I was going to put. If the amendment's not there, do the public submitting, if they disagree with all the options in there, can just write in and say, I just disagree with everything you're putting? So they can do that?
Yep.
Cool, thank you. I'll just withdraw it to make the document more
Good on you.
simple. Thank you.
Okay, so we have what we got. We've got what you've got on the screen, and we have that option, those two, traffic signals 3 and traffic signals 4, and put Sarah's amendment for option A in there, which the mover and seconder have agreed to. So what will happen is, if we vote on this and it goes through, all 3 of those will go out for consultation, which apparently, from what I'm told, is 2 weeks. Is that right, chaps? Yep. It will have nothing to do with the lumps outside Woolworths, because that's a community board thing. And at this stage, it will have nothing to do with a fence. Is that
correct?
Right? A wee fence along the island, so because that can be put in afterwards, or we haven't got enough information about a fence anyway, so we'll do that.
Yep.
So it's, I don't think we've questioned it to death. We'll go into debate, so you guys can escape.
Thank you.
Okay, so everyone's happy. We've got the mover and seconder. Everyone's happy. We know what's happening.
Included.
Yes,
are happy.
yes,
That's all
yes,
in. Yep.
yes.
And
So here we are in debate, and Mark is first.
There will be another debate, just saying, by the way.
Yeah. Because it's only going for consultation, but if you want to say something, I'm not going to stop you.
Thank you. It's been a long road to get to this point. This has been traversed 2/3 times through our community board. Third time we decided to push it through council so we can try and take the heat out of it and get some solutions that we can potentially move forward with. I think we've got to a good point today, because we've heard from the community fairly repeatedly in my corner of town that they don't want to lose that right turn. That's why we've been battling so hard to try and keep it. And we do want to look after the road users, vulnerable and vehicular at the same time. There is a need to make it safer for everybody. To come to the point where we're getting a fully signalised intersection to consult on, I think is a lot of the community have said, look, rather than close the right turn, can we do something like put in full intersection lights to try and make it safe for everybody? So we've landed there with a couple of options here today, and I'll reluctantly agreed to include the left in, left out, even though the community board's voted against that twice. We want to hear from everybody in the consultation, so we'll give them the option to comment on option A and traffic signals 3 and 4, so we can get a good broad feedback through this quick consultation. We want to make sure that we get this right. This is a really crucial arterial point for the southwest of Christchurch. A lot of the southwest use this area to get to and from the university to further their education. Also getting into the major shopping centre that is Riccarton. So it is a major arterial hub, and we want to make sure it is safe for those that actually are in that corner as well. So we've got to make it safe for not just the micro community but the macro community, so that everyone can live together safely. It is a shame that we can't look at less intrusive options than traffic lights, but if that's where we're going to need to land to get progress and to make the area safe for everyone, then hey, we're moving forward with this consultation now. So hopefully the people of Christchurch can jump in on this consultation and let us know in the couple of weeks that they'll be available. Please let us know what you think of this. Please allow this corner of town to progress, allow this corner of town to safely reside together, and everyone get where they need to get to safely. That's really the goal, without having to congest everything to a total standstill. Being the arterial that it is, there's nothing worse than having a blocked arterial. You can't do heart surgery too regularly. So let's try and get this right, and let's listen to the people as they tell us, and hopefully we can get this landed and moving and get this all sorted and put behind us so that we can move forward into a bright new future in Church Corner.
You wasted 4 seconds. Andre.
Been learning off Yanni.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to make sure all our board members do speak, don't we? We've got an accident here every few weeks, every 6 and a bit weeks on average, and it's the same causes each time. It's right turns. My view is that motorists should be able to get home safely without getting T-boned. Personally, I prefer to keep the right turn open if we can, and safely avoid accidents also no longer occurring every few weeks. No one wants their journeys to take longer, and no one wants to get T-boned going home either. When you do get T-boned, your journey takes a lot longer. So if we can balance those things, that would be the ideal. Just on the amendment, I mean, the public should always be able to see the different costs and options on things, but also potential traffic delays. Concerns over traffic delays are the exact reason why this has ended up coming to council. So for those sort of facts not to be included in this consultation will entirely defeat the purpose of why we're here and continuing this process. So I will be supporting that, and I think it's pretty important that kind of thing is included. We want a consultation to be meaningful and to go with different options. So that's what we'll do. And if we can stop those accidents and keep a turn open, that would be a good outcome. And I hope that is where we end up. Thank you.
Thank you. I will always ear to the local councillor and the community board, because I think it's important to talk to the people that know their community, because this is not my community. But what I have always said, and I've said a number of times, is people have to respect the communities they are driving through. That is a basic principle that I live by. Many drivers don't. Many cyclists don't. But I think if we're going to do something, let's do it right. So I'm not too worried about the amount of money, as long as it's done once and done right. Because if we look at this particular intersection, the amount of growth outside on the edge of Christchurch is going to cause this future problems with more traffic. So let's get it right. Let's respect the local community. Let's not play games, and let's focus on getting it right. Thank you.
Okay, anyone out here, Pauline? Yep.
Just really briefly, I'm just wondering if that 2 should be a 3 for the, have we already got a 1 and a 2? Yeah. I'm not really supportive of reconsulting on option A. I won't vote against it because I don't think there's not much point in that, but it has been consulted on already and declined by the community board. And I think I agree with Councillor Scandra, you know, it's good to take some guidance from the board on those things. And I do worry about if we block the right turn there, that the traffic will go up to Curlitz, and we've already heard that that is a very dangerous intersection in itself, which will probably end up requiring some hefty investment as a result of not allowing the right-hand turn there. So that would be my concern there. So, look, no, good process. I'll support this today. That's all I have to say.
I just want to speak in support of the motion. I wasn't going to speak, but it's just good to hear what people have had to say, and I'm really happy that that councillors have been able to find some common ground and come up with some common sense solutions that may cost a bit more, but you know, there's what price can you put on safety? So it's really good the options that we've come up for consultation. So congratulations to the local councillors. It's not my area, as Tim said, it's not my area either, but my daughter's 2 days away from getting her restricted driver's licence, and she's just bought a car, which she loaned me today, actually, which is by the by, but anyway, so, but I'm quite proud of her doing that, and every day she's going to be driving pretty much through that intersection in her car, and so, you know, I've got a vested interest in seeing it safe, so it's really good that that we've got together and are coming up with common sense solutions. So that's why I support this.
Okay, right. Me, just roughly, I certainly support this. I like what the staff have come up with. Options 3 and 4. We need to put option A out there for people to be able to see what's going on. I tend to lean towards option 3. Because not that it's predetermined, but I tend to lean towards option 3 because it keeps flow going. So we're able to have safety, and that's very important. But as some of the councillors have said, there's a lot of growth going on out there, and we do have to keep flow going. We've got to get people out of town and into town without making things too disruptive, and 3 and 4 do that, and also look after the accidents for the T-bone thing. So I'll support it. Kelly?
Yeah, just quickly. Look, I'm really impressed with the fact that the local councillors have actually come to a consensus. It took a wee while to get there, but I think it's sensible. At the end of the day, this is about driver judgments. Drivers make mistakes, and there have been enough crashes there to show that there are enough drivers making bad calls, whether to cross and they get T-boned. We owe it to our communities to make sure that if a lot of them are making judgment errors when they cross an intersection like that we need to get involved and make sure that that doesn't happen. And I think that's a good point that Councillor Fields makes about his young daughter driving. It just those young people who start to drive are probably the most vulnerable as they learn to come to grips with the traffic systems, and I think that this will help make things a lot clearer. So I'm happy to support it.
Okay, so I will put yes. Tyler?
I better. Let me just tell the council. I'll just give them a quick brief part of history. As obviously, as you know, it went through twice, and there was the option of doing nothing that the community board voted down. And doing nothing is not good enough, to be honest. In my ward, in a ward that I love, and I know off the back of my hand, every single street I know, because I go out to those streets. And the things that I see on the day-to-day basis is, obviously, there's an inequitable part within Riccarton. Obviously, there's 35,000 vehicle movements through that ward. It's the most busiest ward in the city. And yet, if we're looking at the long-term plan, out of the capital project, you get $54 million out of that. There are other wards that have more than that. Water, transport, and $0 budgeted for parks is absolutely blasphemous in comparison to what the rest of the city could get. Now, I am going to also remind my colleagues that it was actually nearly lost at the community board level to go to council to consult on a right-hand turn. If we refer to the minutes from the community board, I had to fight tooth and nail to get this across the line. And the funny part is I actually used the democratic system to be able to get it to this point, of which took many, many months to do. Now, I noticed also that there's 83 reported instances of T-bone crashes. Now, let me highlight the word reported, because when I was driving back to my house when my wife was unwell, I literally saw a crash right before my eyes, which was actually pictured in a lot of the briefings that we saw today. Now, my voice actually doesn't matter. So if I say, I've never seen a crash in my life in this intersection, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And if we're talking about the fences outside Dressmart, for example, we can say, I've never seen anyone climb over those fences, so therefore it doesn't happen. That is completely false and untrue, because I'm only one person out of a potential hundreds who actually do experience and have lived experience of it. The next thing I want to talk about is the local voice. Again, I'll remind the council that there is Villa Maria, Te Kapuhi Riccarton School, Riccarton High, Middleton Grange, a kindergarten, and also vulnerable road users that use this place. Through that consultation, I want to give a shout out to staff for this. They actually made changes accordingly, like the retirement village, talking about the dangerous slip lane that they saw into Curlitz. I understand it may be a traffic hold up for now, but once the traffic lights change and it gets signalised well, it'll be free flowing. Now, the retirement village said that they cannot cross the road to get to Church Corner. That is crazy to me, that someone would want to go out for a stroll and they actually can't cross a road. That actually makes me really sad, to be honest. And we have a kindergarten, St. Peter's, where Liz came in and actually gave a deputation, which was fantastic. But I must also add that the family's voice matters, and the ones that walk to and from that kindergarten on such a busy stretch of road, there needs to be some sort of intervention for that. Now, just up the road, off Curlitz Road, going into Service Street, there's actually a young person who got run over on a scooter because of a fast motor vehicle using momentum to travel around a corner and put a child under a car. That is just within 300 metres of this intersection. Because of that free-flowing traffic, where they have no speed interventions, there is risks and difficulties with those populations. The last thing is about Riccarton itself, and as the local councillor, for as long as I'm going to be in power, for as long as I'm going to be sitting in the seat, I'm not going to let my ward be a doormat for the rest of the city. Every single day, people travel through this to use it to get from point A to point B. I am sick and tired of people trying to use their power and utilise their community to try and push for an agenda that is detrimental to my ward. There is no way, shape and form I'm going to let that happen. So I'm really looking forward to this going up for consultation. I'm looking forward to option 3, option 4 and option A coming up and seeing what the local voices have to say, while also taking into account those who utilise the road all the time, like Hornby and those that come from the east. Therefore, I want to thank you all for your support. I'm so confident in this council, that's why I brought it here. And I know that we're going to be making really clear, concise engagements with our communities. And I would also like to shout out to staff and all of those communities that came to give deputations, whether you're from Hornby, whether you're from the local area, or whether you're from representative associations. Kia ora.
Okay, with that, I'll put it. All those in favour? Those against? That is carried. Thank you very much.
Could I be against number 2, the taking the original out? So, yep.
Okay.
I don't see any point.
Yep. Okay, so now we are up to number 6, which is Norwest Arc Major Cycleway Section 3 Detailed Traffic Resolutions. It's got Richard. Pauline's going to move it and Melanie's going to second it. Far away. Don't wait for me.
Thank you. This report refers to the section of the Norwest Arc, section 3B, which is between the intersections of Ilam and Aorangi Road through to Matsons and Heelwood Road. The purpose of this report is to seek the approval for the detailed resolutions and for the tree removals for the approved design. Council requested that staff investigate options that affected safety, parking and trees during the detailed design. Some minor changes to the design have been made to accommodate these investigations, resulting in an increase of parking and the removal of extra trees. However, project staff will continue to work with the arborist and explore a range of engineering and design solutions to see if some of these trees can be retained during construction. In order to avoid potential delays, we are seeking approval for the removal of the trees with an understanding that this will only take place when the tree is not able to be retained without incurring significant costs and design changes that would compromise the use of the cycleway and access of the properties. Free for questions.
That's it. Victoria.
Oh, thank you. You'll be aware that there was a previous notice of motion about a section of this cycleway. Was brought by James and seconded by me from Ilam to Wairaki, and it was based on concerns of the local community and their preference for an alternate design. I'm just going to ask, please, if you can confirm the recommendation resolution numbers, because I'd like to highlight those out for a voting perspective. So I've got 4 to 17 relate to the notice of motion area, and I have 18 and 19 relate to Brookside to Wairaki, and then resolutions 20 and 21 is the Wairaki intersection itself. Can you just confirm that I've got those numbers correct?
You've got those numbers correct.
Yeah, thank you. So just a note for the Secretariat, please, that I wish to highlight those recommendations because I'll be recording a vote against them. Thank you.
So, question from me. Once we do this, there's nothing to stop it getting built, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Have we looked at doing those stick-on lumps of concrete rather than the full dig-out of curb?
We'll be working with the contractor when we get those final sums and that through the contractor. There'll be something we can look at a later date.
But no, sorry, the separators are the in-situ style MCR.
But we haven't changed it from what we did in Ilam Road. It's the same as Ilam Road here. Is it 2 curbs back to back with?
Sorry, through the chair, that is the design. Sorry, we've had a conversation about this.
I know we have.
Yeah, and that will be done through the construction process and working with the contractor, as Richard alluded to before. So the design is the design. It's how we build it will be dealt with through the contractor rather than going back and redesigning it with our consultant.
Yeah, so it could end up with...
Yes. Yeah, and we are working on that and having that conversation.
Thank you, Victoria.
Can I just have confirmation of cost? Because on this particular cycleway, we've seen some significant increased cost variations. So are you confident around the money that you've got on budget for this next section of the cycleway, please?
Yes, we are. We've got a number of other projects that are going to be working in conjunction with this project, as in the Aorangi Street renewal as well. So not all the costs are going to be just incurred by the MCR. So there'll be some of those costs that'll be
And have you got any cost contingency contained within that budget envelope that you've got?
Yes, we have.
I'll add to that. The contractor we've been working with has done a lot of investigation down that road over the past few months. So we do have a higher level of confidence in the costing at this stage.
Aaron, yeah.
Yeah. What percentage of what we're signing off today is funded by NZTA?
None of it. There's an element of it that's funded through Shovel Ready. I'd have to go away and look up the numbers of how much is left, but there's none of it's funded through NZTA.
So zero.
Zero through NZTA, but an element through Shovel Ready.
Right. Okay.
So, which brings me to my question: is the MCR Shovel Ready money enough to do it from where we're starting to where we're finishing?
There's a council top up, so it's partly Shovel Ready, partly council. And I'd need to go away and come back with the numbers for what
I wouldn't mind knowing what the council top up, but that's apart from the road reconstruction underneath it. That's a totally different setup.
Yeah. So as Richard said, we've set aside budget for looking at the deep dish on the other side of the road and the road renewal through that as well.
Yeah, that's part of the road reconstruction. But say the road was all in good nick and we were just building that MCR.
Yeah.
We're doing a top up of our money over and above what's left of Shovel Ready.
Yes.
Okay, but if you could let me know that sometime.
Yeah, we can get to that split, yeah.
Okay. Aaron?
Just a question around the Wairiki Road intersection. If this goes through today, then that intersection is cut off. That's it, isn't it? There is no... The design can't change again after today, can it?
The design's been approved.
Yeah.
So it's already approved.
So which cuts off the intersection and causes all the rat running?
Left in, left out on the Aorangi Road into Wairiki.
Okay. Any other questions? I see that the people that have designed this are consultants. You know how happy I feel about how much money we spend on consultants when I think we could do some of it ourselves. How much, you won't know it, but you can tell me it later. How much is this cost for those consultants to do from this 3B, please?
We'll have to come back with that number.
And will those consultants be the project managers?
I'm the council project manager, and they're looking at doing probably the MSQA, so that'll be the contract management. We're looking at what options we have in that area.
Okay, thank you. Yep. All right. So, Victoria's. I'm going to put anyone other questions. I'm going to put that. Debate. Better. Yeah. So, thank you, guys. You're all good. Is there any debate, Victoria?
Well, thank you. I am pleased to see this final section of the Norwest Arc being completed. It's going to give some much needed improvement to some of the residential streets, particularly around on Matson's Ave, which is a bit of a dog's breakfast at the moment, and along Aorangi where it connects to Condell. One of the key benefits of this section of the cycleway is that it connects to the to the Northern Line, which is a really popular cycleway right up the railway corridor that's well utilised from people across the city. So I'm really pleased to see that connectivity will be able to be completed following this. As I raised in my questions, I have some reservations about some of the design aspects as per the notice of motion that was before us some time ago, and that's for the section from Ilam to Brookside to Wairiki, and I have major reservations about the design of the intersection with Wairiki Road. It's just nonsensical to me, and I think it's going to have a significant impact on the surrounding streets as people try and find alternate routes. That's a well-utilised intersection. And, you know, if one of the things we try to do as drivers is reduce our vehicle kilometres travelled, then this actually goes totally against the grain for that, because people will be travelling significant further distances to get to where they need to go. So I will be seeking to record my vote against the recommendation numbers that I referred to earlier on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to do some? Aaron?
Yeah, I actually support this route selection. I think where the route is travelling makes perfect sense. There's aspects of Aorangi Road there where if we'd used that super wide berm, which is almost wide enough to develop and put a row of houses in, would have been the better outcome. And remembering what we're voting on, what we're doing today, that section through there, not one resident in that street agreed with it. So once again, we're doing it to the people, all the locals, and remember the local community board don't support this either. The intersection of Wairiki Road will have other impacts. It will increase the vehicle kilometres travelled. I would hazard to guess that by more than what will be reduced by an uptake in cycling through the area. And then it will also increase the risk of danger to motorists, pedestrians and cyclists, because when you create a left in, left out on an intersection that should have just got a set of lights for everyone to be able to cross it and use it like a normal intersection, people will go left out and then they go onto a busy road and they do a U-turn. And yes, that's on them, but that's us creating that behaviour by our design. And they do it at Heward Breen's Gardeners. They go left, but luckily we've got cut out road islands, so it's a little bit easier. But there is hundreds per day do it there. There will be hundreds per day do it on this road here. So that is what happens. There is always unintended consequences to what could have been a great design. What's happening further down Matson's and connecting up to the Northern Line, I 100% support, and I think it'll really improve the area. But the intersection does not make sense, and Aorangi Road, we're doing it to them, not with them. So I think it'll put a number of them off using it, which is a real shame, because it would have been a beautiful patch to have been separated from the road and biking along. It made perfect sense when you saw it, but the design that come back from the consultants, not our own staff, I think really lacks inclusion in the neighbourhood. So like Victoria, I'll be voting against those parts. But the other parts I support, and I certainly support this as a route. It makes perfect sense to be biking through there.
James?
Thanks, Phil. Oh, look, I'll keep it brief. I just think I'm going to vote against the recommendations. I don't how we've gone about this. I'm not going to relitigate this now, but I've been pretty consistent in not supporting how this was done. So just for simplicity, I'm going to vote against the resolutions there because I'm not supportive of it. Thanks.
Okay, Sarah?
Kia ora. It's really pleased to be able to get to this point finally and finally get this signed off. I'd like to thank staff for the enormous amount of work and forbearance as council, as elected members have toed and froed on various designs. So thank you very much for that. It's really appreciated. I think we've got a good outcome here, and one that that a lot of people support. And I know that the university students, those going to Ireland that this connects to, this is going to capture a lot of those. Unfortunately, it's not going to quite link to the Northern Line because the last little section there on Harewood Road, connecting it, it won't be quite done. Though there are some quite back streets if they can head off this and round to connect maybe. I'd like to just note briefly that the Wairiki Aorangi intersection, of those who submitted who lived locally, the majority supported it. So for those local residents who supported that, who currently often avoid that intersection because it is currently so dangerous, I think they'll be pleased to see this. Thanks very much.
Anyone else? Right, me. I was fairly vocal on putting the, because I was looking at ways of making the cycleway cheaper in that bit that I ended up door knocking everyone in that particular part, I think from Brookside back to Island Road, and none of them wanted it on the road. They all wanted it on the berm, and I'm still convinced to this day that it would be a lot cheaper. Some of the numbers that we were disputed that. I would like to also, in the long run, I think what Victoria said, what Aaron have said, that it's going to join up to the Northern Line almost, which is great because it gets people out there. The other good thing about it is it's not on a main arterial. It's great because people feel a lot safer going down there. I'd like to one day have somewhere that we don't put MCRs on main arterials at all because they're too dangerous. We've got lots of side streets that we can do it on to make people feel safer. So I will be not voting on the ones that the numbers that Victoria said, but I will be supporting the whole thing. So, Kelly.
Yeah, when I was a young varsity student, I used to bike from Papanui to university down this route all the time. It was pretty safe, to be honest, to and from. The only place it wasn't was that Wairaki-Aorangi intersection, which always used to... Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm not 100% happy with the intersection, but I understand why it's been done, and so I'll support most of it. But I'm going to join with Victoria and James around that area in terms of I'd much rather have seen something designed in possibly one of the widest booms in Christchurch, but we didn't go there, so that's democracy. But yeah, essentially I'll be supporting it except those parts, so cheers.
Okay, so I've got Kelly. Anyone else? Right. So I will put that, those in favour of the whole shebang. Right. And those against, none. But to be noted, the ones, have you got them, Sam?
I've got Councillor Henstock, Kewen, the Mayor, Barber and Councillor Goff against all of them. Against just the selected ones.
And Mark.
How many?
Yeah, got Mark. Yeah, she's got.
Peters against the same ones. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 against the selection. Sorry, 6 against the selected recommendations, 1 against all of them. So that's 7 in total. 15.
Because we haven't got Aaron and we haven't got Yanni.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's passed.
So it passes?
Yep.
Okay. Right. So that is passed. Okay, so I'll put that over there. I was under the understanding that the guy who runs the churches down there was doing something with the ombudsman, was he not? Yeah, so okay. Righto. So now we move up to number 7, Coastal Hazards Adaptation Plan, Littleton Harbour to Port Levy. We've got a mover and seconder, Samuel? Sam? So, generally, are we all happy with this, or would Jane like to talk for? All right, we've got a presentation far away. Go for your life.
Oh, kia ora koutou. I haven't actually got a presentation. Let you down there, sorry. We are seeking today an agreement to adopt the draft Coastal Hazards Adaptation Plan for Whakaroa, Port Littleton Harbour and Kokarara to Port Levy for consultation. I'd like to acknowledge the tremendous amount of work that's gone into this from the coastal panel particularly, but also from Kokarara and from Ngāti Wheki. Council staff right across the building, Specialist and Technical Advisory Group and our amazing independent chair. And lastly, also I really appreciated the input of the Coastal Hazards Working Group. I just would say with the plan, we've reached a high level of convergence across all parties, which has been through a lot of discussion and debate. So yeah, really happy to answer any questions that you have today.
No questions apart from Sarah?
Sorry, unrelated to the actual plan itself, the hearings panel, given that this is a large piece of work with very high value long term of works and things, what sort of size do you know we're expecting for the hearings panel?
That would be me.
Oh, sorry, Megan. Yes.
And I haven't quite got that far yet. I'd be open to the council appointing people if they so wish. Sorry? I hadn't thought of it being the full council. If the full council wishes to appoint themselves as a hearings panel, that I might have to revisit the date I had set aside. But happy to.
2036.
I'm just like, are we? Yeah, I mean, we didn't have a huge number of submissions the last round. I'm not sure we would be expecting a huge number again. But yeah, I mean, I'm open to either. I'm open to a 5 or
I'm quite happy
or everyone.
If the full council wants to appoint itself as the hearings panel, or a smaller group. I'll leave that.
Okay, we'll come back to you on what we come up with.
Okay.
That was possible dates. That if we can get a date for the full we can,
Okay.
otherwise we'll come back.
Tim?
Yeah, it would be good to get an idea of the thoughts around the acceleration of sea level rise, because I've heard differing ideas with regards to its acceleration. So to the point within the next 30 years, if it is going, if you're looking at worst case scenario, this amount of $215 million may be irrelevant, in the sense that if it is going to double in level, then we've got a real problem. But I mean, not that we haven't already, but this isn't going to be a be all and end all and solve all. This is just a journey in wherever we end up.
Yeah, I'll take part of that question, but I might throw the other bit to Tom. Because we're using signals and triggers, we can respond faster if we need to, if sea levels rise at a faster rate. But in terms of those more extreme end scenarios, I don't know if Tom's got any comment on that.
Yeah, first, I guess I'd add to what Jane said there, is that the reason that we retain alternate options or pathways within the adaptation plan is for exactly that reason. So if things accelerate, we might need to shift tack, change options depending on the pace of future change. Certainly, there's a lot of science moving in this space around the impact of the acceleration of the breakup of the Antarctic ice sheet, and if that's of significant interest, then perhaps it's something that council staff could present back to you, and we could always get other experts to support us in that sort of presentation as well.
Because it would be good to get to a point where, because there's a bit of debate, as we know, around the modelling, and modelling is always a shifting feast because science changes, but it would be good to try and get a line in the sand, no pun intended, to work out how we go forward.
Okay, Aaron?
Yeah, on that, with the monitoring, are we monitoring the sale of property and that around a lot of these zones and water edges and things like, are we seeing a movement by the public in there? What once was an appetite to live near the water, has that swung, and are we monitoring it?
No, we're not monitoring it. Anecdotally, until relatively recently, we've been hearing that some of those properties are holding their value, but it's starting to look as though things may change reasonably quickly, with insurers introducing more risk-based pricing, and signals are definitely being sent. The government's just completed their inquiry into adaptation, and they are indicating that one of the key levers they're intending to use is providing people with risk information so they can make better decisions.
And so on that, on the better decision stuff, because I'm in favour of letting people live wherever they want to live, but it's on them. So going forward, will we be drawing a line where whatever happens with sea level rise, if it goes like Tim said and accelerates at double the rate or whatever, we're not coming to your rescue. You bought the property knowing you've got a great view and fish are easy to catch and surfing's easy, but if it goes the other way, we don't come to your rescue. Are we going to do that?
We're looking to the government to establish the framework around these issues. One of the points that we've been making to MFE and they have picked up on is that at the moment we're not enabled to withdraw certain kinds of services, and other providers of infrastructure like electricity aren't also able to withdraw services. So there are some legislative, I guess, enabling changes that need to be made before we could, take the stance you've kind of suggested we could take. But
no, it's not on the services. Services are fine. I don't mind that part of it. It's more the case of in other parts that have flooded in the city, people say, well, council's got to buy my house now because I get flooded. So what will happen, will we do that around coastlines and go, actually, no, we won't be buying anyone's properties?
To some degree, we are waiting for the outcome of this inquiry. The government said they'll report back by the end of the year on their next steps. There is a potential for some legislation to be introduced in the third quarter of next year that clarifies these issues. I think we've seen with Cyclone Gabrielle, there's been a cost share between central and local government, and our view has been reasonably adamant that in terms of private property purchase, that would be a central government-led, best be a central government-led intervention. But we are waiting to see what the central government proposal is before we react to that.
Okay, cool. A couple of things from me, Jane. Insurance companies will be the ones that pull the trigger on that, really, in the long run, won't they?
Yeah, and banks.
Okay, just a question from me, and I'm sorry I haven't gone that far into it. Take the likes of the Teddington Strait. Did we decide to actually, and I'm sorry I didn't look at it, at one stage we were looking at buying land on the further up the hill, so to speak, or did we decide that we'd lift that up? I can't remember.
So the recommendation of the panel has been towards raising a section of road. So this is the
some roads here and there.
Yeah, so this is the Charteris Bay section east of Gebbies Pass, and then the recommendation of the panel for the section of road west of Gebbies Pass has been to retain that section of road level at the existing height.
Okay, because what I was around at ECAN the other day, and we shouldn't lose sight of, knowing how much gravel costs to buy carts through tunnels over hills all over the place, we shouldn't lose sight of that we've got a quarry right, well, we haven't, there is a quarry right there, and they should always look at, if you can make the gravel or the rock on site, it's a damn sight cheaper than carting it for miles and blowing carbon up in the air. So I just told them that we shouldn't lose sight of that because it's right on your doorstep. So I'm just throwing that out there. So we've got a mover and seconder, have we not? Sorry. Yes, Pauline, sorry. All right, so we're debating. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. So, yeah, absolutely, I'd love to speak in favour of this motion. Like a lot of people, I've got an older brother who is quite fond of giving me advice. And
that you don't listen to.
Well, sometimes I do. And he's often saying failing to plan is planning to fail, and that's something that I take on board, and I think that's the case here. Like the impacts of whatever you want to call it, like climate change, sea level rise, coastal erosion, land movement, or whatever, they're happening regardless of whether we plan for it or not. And so it's really important that we get in front of the curve as a local authority and do this planning. Things will change. Look, this is a 20, 30, 50, 100 year beyond discussion, but it's really important that we have it now. There are some things that people will not be comfortable with, but again, the fact that we're planning for it will enable us to have those conversations in advance rather than having knee-jerk reactions. So in that regard, I really want to praise the team who have been involved. They've really engaged so deeply with the local community. I mean, there was a comment earlier about taking the community with you rather than doing things to them. I really feel that they've taken the community along the way. You've seen that in the makeup of the coastal panel. You see that in the way that they've done workshops with the community, the way that they've visited residents associations and all that. And again, people don't always like to hear it, but this team have been knowledgeable. They really know their stuff. They've been professional all the way. They've gone above and beyond, and they've created a template. This is not just about whakaraopo and kokorara. So this is about, we've got a lot of coastline in Christchurch, and this is providing us with a template of how we address some of those major challenges that a coastal city like Christchurch is going to face. So, so really, really big kudos to the team there. Just another couple of things like Teddington Strait, for example. Like this is not new stuff as well. Like Teddington Strait has been. I've got a resident who frequently calls me up. His name's Rex Gebby. By the name, you can imagine that he probably knows the area very well. And he said Teddington Strait's been underwater in his lifetime. So it's happened before. It will happen again. And the key thing is that we're planning to be able to address it with the resources that we have and do it in the best way that we can. So with that, support the motion and yep. Cheers.
Yeah, well said. Look, just I agree with everything you've said, Councillor Fields. Yeah, this is a 30 to 100 year look into the future, and we are getting ready. This is an exemplary piece of work that we should be so proud of, And the illustrations in here are just brilliant, and that referring to Teddington Flat, I always thought it was, but anyway, how vulnerable that is. And the Chair's report is excellent, the introduction, saying that we have already seen sea level has risen by 10 centimetres over the last 15 years. And it's not all about how high the sea level rises. It's actually what we're facing now is risks of these severe events that bring an incredible inundation. And we did have a little shake on the Hikurangi Fault a couple of weeks ago, and that is the one that will bring a massive tidal wave in here. So we have to be prepared for those scenarios and the damage that will do, and how to address that. So we've got the other issue of who pays, of course, and that's something to be addressed later. We've also got our own infrastructure, not just people's homes, and that's, I think, the focus of the council, really. So this, as Councillor Fields said, this is the first cab off the rank. This is the model that we will use to work with communities across the city in all the vulnerable areas. This is an incredible success story, and I can't praise staff highly enough for the way they have conducted themselves with the community. They've identified the communities and worked with them really carefully. I particularly like this one in the middle too, which is showing the lifeline links through the harbour and how important it is to retain those. So it shows you, I think one of them goes to the Governor's Bay Jetty actually, so good move there. And we've got the Kokorarata right around there. So if the roading fails, this is all being thought about incredibly deeply. So look, I look forward to the feedback from the community, and it's not, I can't see this being incredibly contentious because people have come along with it. So I think it'd be a really good process if the whole council was the hearings panel, because we've all got an interest in this, and I think the community would like to talk to us as well, particularly. So, and being live streamed as well would be helpful for the community, the rest of the city, to be informed and to see how we are preparing for the future, which is coming upon us quite quickly, and not in a fearful way, but just in a smart way. As in here, there's opportunities as well. So yeah, well done to staff, and well done to everybody in the community that's participated.
Cal? Yeah, just to finish off, I was on the Coastal Hazards group, and totally agree with everything that Councillor Fields and Deputy Mayor Cotter have said. I was really impressed actually with the words, the maps, the pictures. It makes it very, very clear what the options are and where we're going to go. I think it's an exemplary document. It's obviously years in the making, mistakes learned over different consultations. So communication is something I'm always really interested in. I think we can do it. We can always do it better, but this is probably the best I've seen from council. I love the maps. I love the pictures. It makes it very, very clear what the alternatives are. So, yeah, happy to support it today.
Tim? Yeah, thank you. Outstanding bit of work. And the more work that our staff do, the harder it starts to look at, because if you're looking at this plan, which is outstanding, Whakarapa, Littleton Harbour to Kokorarata, Port Levy, which is estimated to be costing us around $215 million. And then you go to Ekaroa, then you go to Little River, and then you go to the Sumner, Brighton, etc. As Councillor Fields said, we have a lot of coastline. But then if you go out, New Zealand is basically a coastal country. and we have my family have interests in the Southern Hawke's Bay. And if you look at any kind of photos we have with regards to climate change, Tiawonga is the one where you see the houses going in to the sea, and Halmoana and etc., where my family, my wife's family, have interests. So we're surrounded by it, and we're really conscious of it. But the concern I think we have to be is when we do this work, we've got to be realistic and let everybody know that everybody is affected by this, and this work has to happen, and we've got to be realistic about it. It may not be affordable in another 30 or 40 years, but we've got to do the work, we've got to understand it and see where we're going. And we've got to support the science to back the rated modelling, which it's essential so we can do our planning for the city. So I want to thank staff, and let's see where it ends, and hopefully it'll end soon.
Mm-hmm. No, it's good. Yep, Sarah?
Kia ora. I'd like to start by thanking staff. It has been a huge piece of work. It was initially disrupted by various lockdowns and the inability to work with the panel, the coastal panel, and also thank the panel and the chair for their enormous work over a long period of time. They have been to meeting after meeting. They've looked at all of the information. They've talked to their communities. And it's been about the public realm. So currently council's responsibility is for public realm only, which is why the government had to come to separate arrangements with the councils that had to be voted on for the 50-50 split for the impacts on private property after Cyclone Gabrielle and the Auckland anniversary floods. That may change. So it may be legislated in a year or two that councils will share the responsibility, the financial responsibility for private property as well. The last estimate for Otatahi Christchurch was $3.5 billion worth of public realm at risk with only 20 centimetres of sea level rise, but $14 billion worth of private property at risk with 20 centimetres of sea level rise in a large storm event. That's $7 billion on our council. That's a lot of money. And so planning appropriately, making sure that we have multiple plans in place that cover all of the areas that are impacted is going to be crucial over a period of time. We do need that certainty from the government as to what our responsibilities are. It's actually quite difficult to have high trust conversations with the communities coming up if we think that the rules might change halfway through. So I'm really hoping that the government get it right, but do it relatively quickly, because the latest indication that we had was that potentially it could be several years before they decide on where the responsibilities lie. We know that the urban development strategy done in the early 2000s was a crucial piece of planning, forward thinking, that was incredibly helpful after the earthquakes when it came to planning and releasing land for development to rehome people who had been red zoned. Making sure that we have all of the plans in place will enable us to do a similar piece of work in the event of an event. And again, I'd like to thank staff. It's been phenomenal working with you on this. Look forward to the next stages. And I'd just like to point out to people that we really need to prioritise Plan Change 12 and once and for all stop people building additional risk on properties where we know that there is a high level of risk. Thanks.
Okay, this is good that this is going out for consultation, because what it'll do, hearing panel will come in, it'll all come back to us, we will vote on it, and I'm sure we'd be daft if we didn't agree with what's going on here, which is great. But we've just got to look at how on earth we were going to pay for that. But we've got to get this part, this is a journey, get it out there, bang, 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 and then it'll be, my God, how much is this going to cost? And but that's way down the track. So in the long run, I always talk about the Teddington Strait, Pauline, as you do. The Teddington Strait could be, just in my head, like the causeway going to Sumner one day. It could be like that. So just have that bouncing around the back of your head. And at high tide, all the land on the inside, on the hillside, could well be wet, like McCormick's Bay is. But this is bloody good. Hell of a lot of good work done by staff. So I think we'll put this all those, we're going to move and centre. Yep. All those in favour? Against? Thank you very much. That's carried. That's good. Right, number 8. Review of gambling and TAB policy. I'm more than happy to move this, and Jake is more than happy to second it. So just so that we're on the right track, we've retains the, we're going to put it down without amendment, we're going to push it down the road for 2 years and then have a full consultation, a special consultative process in 2026. Is that about it?
Yes, so the report was left to lie on the table on the 4th of September pending staff advice. That advice was provided to you on the 25th of September and is attached to the report as attachment D. Our advice is that the policy settings remain appropriate if you're looking to continue to focus on reducing gambling availability in order to minimise gambling harm, but it has been a significant length of time since the council last consulted the community, and there is value in undertaking an SCP soon, but there are timing difficulties with respect to 2025 and pressures on elected member and staff time, so we are recommending you retain the policy without amendment for now and bring the review of the next, the review of the policy forward to 2026 and include an SCP.
Okay, great. Jake, you got a question, sir?
Sorry. So it's 5 I had issue with. I saw it in a previous version of the agenda. Would we... I mean, we can't bind a future council in 2026. Presumably, all options, including rolling over the policy again, would be before that council.
Yes.
Okay. All right, fine. Happy to support it on that basis.
Okay, Aaron?
Yeah, I heard in the media this morning, so it's a 50-50, but that we're writing a letter to the ministry, but only on electronic gaming, not online gaming.
So we had a briefing with you on the 30th of July, and in that briefing council raised several concerns. You raised concerns about online gambling, about the effectiveness of the policy, and that venue numbers hadn't declined, that there was still concentration of venues in high deprivation communities, and that problem gambling statistics had not declined. You'd also raised concerns about the some of the levers that central government had to minimise gambling harm, so the host responsibility programs and the jackpot settings, and we were asked to write a letter reflecting all of the concerns raised by council in that workshop. So the letter does include references to online gambling, reflecting council concerns.
Okay, because when we had our briefing a couple of days ago, we did raise the online gambling part. Tim had raised it especially around who's even monitoring the volume of what does that look like?
Yeah,
what harms
so
there?
DIA have had some work underway to look into online gambling. Its concern has been raised by institutional government. We don't have great data as to who is gambling online and how much money is being spent. That outcome of that review is still pending, but the Minister for Internal Affairs recently announced that there would be 6 online casino licences available from 2026. So that would establish a regulatory framework for online gambling, and would also provide the government with an opportunity to collect some tax revenue as well from those online outlets, but that is still just a high-level policy announcement. We still haven't seen that legislation.
So just to clarify then, when that legislation comes through, they would be New Zealand operators, potentially licensed out of, I think there's a site in Australia and that you can do it. But how does that stop me when I get one of those text things come through, click on here, you do your spin and wins, and then I put in my credit card and I can gamble through my core or wherever you like in the world?
Yeah.
Nothing's going to stop me now, but what is that what we're addressing? Because that's the real problem, because that's completely unmonitored.
So currently the only legal online gambling is My Lotto and TAB online. So any other gambling is overseas-based betting. That is what the government is looking to do with these casino licences, is to regulate in a New Zealand context.
Okay, so but that still doesn't answer my question. That will within those licences, but does it stop anyone from still accessing the other sites around the world?
Assume not, but we haven't seen that legislation, so we're not really sure.
So should our letter not highlight that and concerns about that?
About online gambling?
Yeah, about online gambling and sites all over the world, because there's a number of other sites that you're not allowed to visit as a New Zealander, and there's monitoring and stuff in place for that, and some people get caught, which is great, but gambling's not in there, and I think as a council we should be suggesting gambling should be in there, because especially if we're looking to license it, monitor it, that's great, because then there's some checks and balances, but all the unchecked and unbalanced stuff can have severe repercussions. So as a council we should be concerned about that, so at least highlighting to the government, can you address it and have similar laws to, for instance, pornography or snuff movies and things like that, which are illegal and you cannot access them online.
So the purpose of this policy is whether council will grant consent for new Class 4 venue licences.
I'm not worried about that, I'm just worried about the letter.
We don't really have a role in online gambling, so we can express
Not what I'm raising, I'm just
support
saying in our
for-
letter to government that we should have, or our voice should be to government, that government needs to be involved in online gambling because of the harm that it could cause, is what I'm trying to raise. And I might be a lone voice here, but I'm picking I'm not.
That's good. Councillor Cowan, I think we can reflect that in the letter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just we should have very big concerns about it, because we just don't know the numbers, and the numbers might be low, but I'm guessing they're not.
And that.
Okay, Tim?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for this, and thank you for the letter. So the government's reviewing it in 2 years. So I wonder if we could put in the letter something that we would like to discuss with them in more detail at that point. At that time, was that already in? I did read the letter, and I kind of got lost in a bit of.
Say something to that. Yes, Council urges central government to be more ambitious in their approach to minimising gambling harm. We would appreciate the opportunity to work with central government agencies to explore policy options to better address a problem that significantly impacts those who can least afford it.
Yeah.
So we're signalling in that letter that we want to work with central government on what they're sort of doing in that gambling space.
Right. Okay. With regards to, we've got the assumption, and I'm presuming it's an assumption, that because we've reduced the number of one-armed bandits, call them what you want, and there's been little effect with regards to the income to those communities that get funding for their community-based programs, etc., whether it's sport, whatever it is, that we're assuming that further reductions won't affect the incomes. Is that the assumption? Is that an assumption, or have we worked with the gambling or the organisations to assess that?
The community groups that are getting the grant funding.
Yeah, so basically what I read in this is that there has been a reduction over the years of the gaming machines, but it hasn't been a reduction in the spend.
Correct.
So we're assuming that if there are more reductions, the spend will just be more, with the same, but in higher amounts in the fewer machines. That's the assumption.
Seems to be what's happening. So our venue numbers are declining very, very slowly.
Yep.
But expenditure has remained steady, which means the amount that is lost per machine is going up over time. So the amount of money that is available to the community seems to be about stable, because it's that 40% of all gambling losses are returned to the community.
And
Tyler, please.
I know the answer to this, in the sense that we look at reducing, etc., the harm, but have we discussed as an organisation the funding, if these $30 million that's raised in Christchurch for Christchurch community groups, etc., sporting groups, whoever they are, rescue helicopter, whatever it is there any thought about where that money could come from? Because
so that's kind of outside the scope of this policy. Our policy is really, will we grant consent for new venue licences? Any decisions that council make around making grant funding available to the community through other means is really outside the scope of this policy.
Thank you. That's great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Tyler, and then we'll put it out there.
Kia ora. Just for clarity's purpose, the Department of Internal Affairs are the ones that are in charge of the regulation of machines, right? So if, by a way, the providers would like to disregard the sinking lid policy that we have as a bylaw, does the Department of Internal Affairs have any powers to actually approve the continuation of those machines or relocation of those?
So we grant consent, and then the DAA grant the license or the relocation. So they can't provide any new licenses without our approval. So they can't override our policy.
Okay. So the things that I've heard previously, this was probably when we first started implementing our sinking lid policy, was that the DIA were essentially undercutting us. Would you say that that's false?
No, that's probably with relocations, with Waikiwi. So essentially what they were doing was they were updating the venue license if a venue was moving very close by. And it wasn't considered a relocation, it was just considered an amendment to the license. So where our policy doesn't allow any relocations, there had been an avenue through the DIA to move basically via this Waikiwi transfer by updating the address on the license. But that is, the High Court has ruled that the DIA cannot, but essentially go against the council policy on relocation, so they can't do that anymore.
Got you.
Okay, right.
It's good.
We've questioned this to death. We'll go into debate. Has anyone got any debate? Oh, you just. Okay.
Surprised. I just thank you very much for the work that's done on this. The one thing, and we say, like philanthropic is the big funder of many things in New Zealand, and we're saying the report was that gaming machine trusts make up 9% of charitable and community funding in New Zealand. But if we look at the report, that in Christchurch, not to mention the larger areas where you're looking at Canterbury, South Island, etc., and larger organisations, it's $30 million. The groups are vast and very different, etc., but that money is essential to those groups, and whoever they are. We don't have the funds to make up the $30 million. We don't. Our capital endowment fund is $101 million. It's gaining about a bit over 4% because we've done it internally, and that's the right thing to do because it's saving ratepayers money. But if you look at our $101 million, it's lost value of 8% in the last 2 years because we're not paying back inflation. We're not putting anything back. Inflation, I think, today was announced at about 3.5%, which is the first time in a number of years it's been under 4%. We've got to have a discussion about if we are going to stop and reduce or stop this gambling, how is that going to affect our communities? Because our funding partners have changed their criteria, which have almost pushed some of these groups to this legitimate community funding system, which has been around forever. So I'm just raising the fact that we do have to start an open discussion, and it's good that in a couple of years we will put this out to the community for consultation because we are all into transparency. And we also understand there is the fundings for everything is getting harder and harder to live. So we do have to look at how we go forward with this. We cannot leave organisations just dangling, or they've got to be prepared for a change in what they do. Thank you.
Al?
Yeah, look, I'm happy to support this. I'm not a huge fan of gambling, but I think regulated gambling is far preferable. I'm really concerned about online gambling, and I'm glad that DIA is looking at it. from what I understand from talking to people in the wider industry, finance companies, when they go through people's finances to looking at these people buying various purchases, often find that their finances are essentially being crippled by online gambling. So, happy to kick this down the road for another 2 years, but really looking forward to DIA looking at online gambling, which I think is a real concern.
Thank you, mate. Sarah?
Kia ora. Yeah, I'm really pleased that we're doing this at this stage and that we're not doing anything that could open up further gambling. I get Councillor Scandrett's point about the amount of philanthropic funding they do, but that money comes from the community in the first place, and less of it goes back into those community groups than is taken from the communities to start with. And it's not distributed evenly into the areas that suffer the most harm from problem gambling. There are other, organisations that do some charity giving and those kind of things as well, Philip Morris and others. And, we're not saying that, we should continue to, well, actually some people are saying we should continue to let people smoking. But I think that if you weigh up the harm and the good, and you look at the fact that actually mostly they take profits out and they give some money back, then we need to make sure that we reduce gambling as much as we can in our communities.
Tyler, then Jake.
Kia ora tātou. Councillor Scandrett brought up a really good point on how much of a crook system we've got, where we have to actually humanise something that says, hey, we're going out to the community. And then New Zealand Community Trust had to come into us and say, actually, no, stop, guys, we need more gamblers so we can get more money. That is crook. That is crook in all ways, shape and forms. For me, financial literacy is at the gate for many gamblers. That is actually affecting families, and many of the families whom I've worked with before, where a loaf of bread is really tough to get because somebody's got an issue. And, it's a systemic issue that Councillor Scandrett raised, where we have to rely on these systems to be able to get really good community outcomes, like new sports fields, like they were talking about, new soccer balls, for those families who are being damaged by those gamblers. So I would like to elaborate and talk a bit more on that system itself, but I really do support this. I wish it was hurried up a bit more, but it's okay. That's the way the cookie crumbles. And really keen to support the letter, particularly the level of jackpot that comes across, because that there is a massive magnet to those who actually have gambling harm. $1,000 is a lot to a lot of people, and they have no idea how many 20s they chuck in on max, put on 18 black, God, Bob's your uncle. It's a really big issue. And if we made the jackpot, say 500, there's going to be a lot more mitigants around the high risk, low reward. And that's going to actually help the system in itself. And if you really wanted to double down and get some money, go to the CAS, put it on black, and then you're away. Pokie machines aren't the way forward. That's just my opinion, and that's what I've seen through many scenes, the rugby scene, the community scene, all of those. They call it the tradies laptop and so many other things. It's an interesting way that we see this system, but we do need to expose it for what it is. Kia ora.
Jake?
Yep, I'm also really pleased to support this today. I'm glad we've moved this out of our LTP cycle so that if we did want to consult, it wouldn't be a disincentive to do so at the same time as an LTP. That's good. However, I won't vote for 5 simply because I don't think we should go out and consult in 2026. I'd prefer we roll it over. We have probably the best gambling policy in the country. And when we last consulted with people, I think it was 80 or 90% of them agreed with that. So I don't support any change which would see that sinking lid move to a floating lid, to use an analogy. So when 2026 rolls around, my preference will be to roll over the policy, because I don't see the harm and I don't see the sense, actually, of spending a whole bunch of money consulting people when we did so a wee while ago, but that it was pretty definitive and pretty clear, and any change would just simply be the wrong thing to do. So when we get to 2026, we can make those options there.
Aaron?
Yeah, I just will mainly speak to the online gambling. I have huge, grave concerns for us as a country not addressing that. The government should be, DIA should be jumping all over that, well ahead of any concerns around the stuff they can monitor and the stuff they can see. It's incredibly dangerous, and as one of my colleagues raised, finance companies are spotting it in people's anomalies in their finances that aren't stacking up, and it will be, and Tyler referred to it as well, that those people will gamble before they buy a loaf of bread. But don't think that getting rid of pokie machines or gambling gets rid of gambling. Gambling was here before New Zealand regulated the pokie machine, which I think was around maybe the 1980s. Gambling itself's older than the written language. It goes back thousands of years. It is actually human behaviour, is to gamble. So when you have human behaviours that can be extremely detrimental to people and their life and their community, you need regulation and rules and monitoring around it. It won't stop it, and for some people it won't help them at all, but it does make it a little safer, because you can bet your bottom dollar, if we get rid of gambling and pokie machines, it'll be picked up by gangs. Gangs will take over that industry, because as they're being squeezed on other industries, gambling will be a fantastic opportunity for them to step into, and then it'll get worse, because it'll go into a loan system, not just what you turn up with. You'll be allowed to run credit, and that will have severe outcomes. And I know this well because my own father gambled everything we had when we were kids, and so I had the luxury of living in a state house, which was a great education later on, but he was a successful contractor and lost everything in gambling. So I know it well. I'm not anti-gambling, I just understand it, and I know that it's human behaviour, and if you move it or hide it, it will pop up somewhere else and it will be uglier.
Thank you. Andre?
It's just an observation. Something I've found unusual is the amount of different things councils are responsible for, like addressing gambling harm, addressing alcohol harm. We're also being told we're going to have to start rating for dental care with things like fluoride. It's really tricky for councils to get back to basics when so many different councils in New Zealand having to address all of these different things and the burden that requires, all the different staffing required. Like, New Zealand's not that big. I am surprised how many different policies there are from so many different parts of the country. You'd have neighbouring councils with totally different policies on this, despite the exact same residents using those facilities in each of those neighbouring councils. Tricky for councils to get back to basics, and they've got so many different responsibilities. Just on the DIA addressing online gambling and harm from that. Well, the government's going to start taxing online casinos, which is probably quite a good move. If there's taxes to be, raised, the government will often be all over it, and blocking access to websites unless they're paying up this kind of thing. It's confident they're doing that. But what would be really good to see is those funds ring-fenced to address gambling harm and those organisations that help with that. It'd be good to see that money being ring-fenced to try and reduce harm ultimately. That would be really good. Or maybe even reduce burden on councils and having to fund this stuff.
Right, I'll quickly put it. All those in favour? Against? And you want number 5, did you say, Tim? Jake. Okay, thank you. Right, we'll now move on to, and I'm happy to move this, and Tyler's happy to second it, review of dog control policy. I'll put... Did you have a question, Vic? Okay.
Hello, I just have a question in relation to definition of tracks. I can't see where I've put it now in my notes, but there's some references. It was in the changes to the, here it is, top 5 changes likely to be the highest public interest, some on page 128. The proposal to require dogs to be on a short leash on footpaths, shed paths and tracks. I'm just trying to understand the definition of tracks. I couldn't see it immediately in the documents, and I want to give an example and see if you can answer this one for me. So in Hagley Park, we've got our asphalted parks, shed paths there, and then on the inside of those, on the park side, there is a well worn desire line track. Now, it's not a formed track, but it's certainly a desire line. So I'm keen to understand whether that classifies as a track or not.
We've broadly described tracks as spaces that are built and designed to be walked on. So if there's an informal track, that wouldn't be covered. So it's where it's got edging or it's got a surface or it's intended for people to walk on.
Okay, so the desire line tracks are not included in those tracks. Thanks. Can you point that to me in the policy? I struggled to find it.
We've got, it's in a couple of different places. So I think we've got some descriptions in the bylaw itself as a general rule and in the policy too.
So can I just ask then that in the consultation document that goes out that it's really clear to people about that for tracks so they can understand that? Thank you.
Okay. So, yep, I've already done it. Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any debate? I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you, that's carried. Thank you very much. Sorry to keep you waiting all day. Number 10. I'll move this one. And Pauline will second it. Right. Any questions? Everyone's read it. Any debate? I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you, carried. See you later. Right, number 11. Now, we have got a proposed amendment by Melanie and Sarah, which I think is bloody good. How do we want to talk to the amendment?
Yeah, just everyone make that the main one.
Make the amendment the main action.
Yep.
Okay?
Everyone happy?
Does everyone understand by what Mel and Sarah have put up there? Okay? No questions? Good. Who's moved it? Oh, these two. Good. Yeah, so I'll put that. Oh, no, any debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Thank you. That's carried. Righto. Number 12, elected member allowances and expenses policy.
That's just straightforward.
Pauline's moving it and Melanie's seconding it. Yep, that's cool. Any questions on this? Any debate? All those in favour? Against? Thank you, that's carried. So now we've got libraries information update and
Might need a
we're ahead of.
5-minute break. Will we find?
Or do we want to do 16?
Oh yeah.
Shall we do 16 while we're at it?
Yep.
Okay. Just note that this report was taken out of public excluded, and we require 2 nominations to be included in the resolution.
So Sam's moving.
Sam's.
You and the mayor.
Yeah, I'll nominate. If I can, I'll nominate yourself and Melanie. Okay.
Yeah, I thought that's what we'd talked about earlier, but yep. So
put them into the thing, into the Rex. Yeah.
Okay.
You and second.
And Councillor Coco.
Seconded.
Okay, the seconder is Tyler. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so there's no debate. There's no.
Yep.
All those in favour? Aye. Against? Thank you. That's carried. Great. So we've got one more thing to do, and then Mayor's monthly report. But libraries are here. Oh, good.
Do your report first.
They're here. Libraries are here. No. Thank you very much for that. You know how much effort I put into writing this?
That's not fair. He does have input in it.
I've got RSI in my wrist. I've been writing so much. No, hang on. No, I'll read for it. No pictures, no centrefold, no nothing. Right. Libraries and Information Unit update, please.
Kia ora koutou, ko Erica Rankin, toko ingoa. I am manager for half of the community libraries in Christchurch City Council, And I'm here today representing Caroline Robertson, who's very ill. She'd definitely be here otherwise. She sends her apologies. It's wonderful to have the opportunity to be able to present to you, to give you a snapshot of our service and some of the wonderful things we've been able to present to council, have available to our communities and have available for our communities. I don't know whether you want me to move us along as I go. Is that what you'd like me to do?
Yep.
Cool. Just bear with me for a second. Okay. So there's a lot in here. I'm not going to try to go through all of it. I'm just going to draw your attention to some of the highlights, although they're all highlights. I know you've had a really long meeting, so just to say in summary that we've got a mixture of data here, some of it from the last year, some of it from the last 6 months. It should be quite clear in the report what we're talking about when I'm talking about statistics and data. But one of the, a couple of the highlights mentioned on that first page in the summary are the removal of holds charges. I know you'll remember that, removed from the 1st of July. That's for items that customers wish to get from another library or another location. And also the South Library redevelopment, which I'll tell you a little bit about when we get to that. So just on those stats, there's some great figures there pulled out to represent our services over the past year. I wanted to just draw your attention to a couple of them, including the customer satisfaction, which, you know, we're really proud to say that we have 95% customer satisfaction. It's been sort of there or thereabouts for the last few years. We do try really hard, as does all of council, but it was really gratifying to see that again in the resident survey 2024. 3.73 million physical visits, as well as 4.57 virtual visits to our libraries. So people still ask us sometimes, our library's dead, our library's dying, can't you do everything online? It's obviously libraries as, thank you, obviously libraries as place. The importance of place, the importance of connecting physically with things, with connections, collections with other people is really critical for libraries and for our customers. And total issues of materials, both physical and digital, have also increased 5.4% from last year. If anything else attracts your attention as we go through, please ask me about it at the end, anything I don't focus on. Just that one quick slide here about the most popular books, July to September 24. We're often asked this by the media. Sometimes it's a surprising result, sometimes not. I wonder how many of you may have read any of those or even heard them talked about on national radio, perhaps, as I have. This slide is highlighting the amazing impact of Matatiki Hornby Centre, which opened, as you know, on the 19th of April 24. And this is just to give you an idea of some of the differences that we've experienced since we've opened this wonderful new facility compared to the old Hornby Library. So 43,000 visits to the library. We've got a 71% increase in attendance at programs, which is amazing. Including all sorts of things that you'll see listed there. 58% increase in physical items issued. That's huge. So the size of the collection, I believe, is about the same, but just the way it's displayed, it looks so attractive, and the number of people who are coming in to actually see what we've got available and take them out. And 748 new members enrolled, which is a 107% increase over the old Hornby Library. So there's no denying its success, basically, and well done to all of you who had a part in that. Opening hours also are longer with a 19% increase, so it's available to that wonderful the wonderful service that we have and the wonderful facility that's on offer is available for longer hours to its community. So all in all, a really great story. The holds fees that I mentioned earlier had an instant effect on our customers, an instant impact. We saw a 93% increase in the number of holds placed by adult members compared to in August compared to August the year before. An interesting fact about that is it's not all the shiny new books that are in the bookshops and everyone wants to read that people are reserving. It's also some of the things that we have kept because they have merit in one way or another, historical or things that there is no other information about, or it's difficult to find things that we have stored off-site. 52% increase in the holds placed on those items. So it's fascinating. I don't know that we would have necessarily predicted that. So there's just one comment here which represents, we got a whole lot of comments right from day one, and we're still getting them from our customers in appreciation of taking off that holds fee. So this person said, I just wanted to say how amazing it is to hear that the library has gotten rid of the holds fees. This is fantastic news, especially with prescription costs going back on. This is really going to help this old reader keep up with his book habit, which is really sweet. And one just from this week, a Hybris comment that said, it came from a customer at New Brighton. They said that having freeholds is great, and it's the best thing we've done since we opened Tūranga. We thought that was pretty good too. Public programs and outreach events. We've offered more than 3,292 programs attended by more than 57,340 people. That's across all of our libraries, and there are just some examples there that you hopefully have had a chance to read or to catch up on later. But things that we do, there's a huge variety in the things that we do, and there's a real smattering of things mentioned there, from tree planting at Horseshoe Lake with the Parks unit for Kids Fest to symphony orchestra performing to 660 people in our libraries. And the outreach business that we do, the outreach van goes out to schools and to rest homes and to all sorts of other places. There's two vans, one, I know we have talked about the mobile service here in the past, but one is more traditional, has slightly more traditional visits. The other one goes out to events and where the people are, and we sign people up and we make people aware of the wonderful services that they can access all across the city. And it will also be supporting the community when the South Library closes for its rebuild, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Am I going at about the right pace for you? Am I rushing too much?
No, you're doing good. It's great.
So partnerships is something that's really worth us bringing to your attention too. Partnerships enable us to do things, events, connect with groups that we wouldn't normally be able to do, that we wouldn't have the resourcing to do, or the sort of the expert knowledge that some of our partners have. So it's a match made in heaven to work with people like the Word Festival. They came to Tūranga when Tūranga first opened to have some trial events, and it's just gone from strength to strength. So Tūranga is a hugely important part of the Word venue and part of the Word Festival now. And it drew an additional 2,000 visitors to the library over the time of the festival, from the 27th of August to the 1st of September. We've also got a partnership going with the University of Canterbury, particularly their Gaming Guild, and this is in relation to esports tournaments. And once again, they're bringing people from enthusiasts and competitors from not just Christchurch but across the South Island. We help with providing IT kit and support that they wouldn't have, and they wouldn't be able to offer that without us. Also, just another couple to highlight, so since the museum's been closed for their rebuild, we've entering into an MOU with them around all sorts of collaborations, including some touring exhibits that they have available. They have done a little bit of that with schools in the past, but it's been fantastic having them in Tūranga in the first instance, and now just branching out to having some of those touring exhibits in our community libraries. They're really well put together, they don't take up a lot of space, they're fascinating, and they remind people of their visits to the museum when they were a child. They're a wee bit of a taster to us to want to go back to see what the new museum will be like. So it's a wonderful collaboration. Yes, working with robotics, working with Environment Canterbury. The Maori Land Court has drop-in sessions with us at Tūranga. We've joined forces with Huia Publishers on another program that we hold. So just the huge range that we're able to offer because of those partnerships. We can do more and do it more cleverly. Summer reading is just another one I'd like to highlight coming up, obviously. I don't know whether people are aware of what they call the summer slide as far as children reading. That's when children leave school for those lovely long summer holidays and throw their books away, and if they don't pick up anything to read, to engage with the written word over that time, there's a huge drop-off in their reading ability. And it has a huge and long-lasting impact on reading levels. So it's our business, it's our bread and butter, and it's something we're really proud to be able to continue doing to support those tamariki. And moving on to Omokahi, which everyone knows is the name that we've been gifted for the new facility that will replace the South Library and Service Centre. We've been working with for quite a while now on the design, and we've also been engaging with mana whenua through Whiti Ora. They've given us guidance on aspects of the design. They've gifted a cultural context and a design narrative, and also the name for that facility. At the moment, I believe we are looking at identifying Ngāi Tahu artists who will be able to give life to that cultural narrative, as far as some things that we will be able to see and feel in the building. And coming from working on Tūranga, I know what an extra special thing that cultural narrative and the exemplified by the artwork integrated into the building provides. Coming up, so that will be, we're preparing for foreclosure, and we're also preparing for a pop-up library, which you will have heard is going to take place at the Colombo. So we have signed agreements for 2 shops, adjacent shops at the Colombo, where we'll be able to have a small popular library with a small collection, plus some room for some children's programming, some public computers, a little bit of space to study or to sit and relax, a little bit of everything. We're hoping, we know that the Colombo will be a fantastic location for us. We just have to get the word out, we have to set it up, we have to make it attractive and appealing, and we are sure people will come. It's not what they're used to, but it will be something pretty cool, and we've had a lot of experience with that after the earthquakes, where we put up several pop-up libraries in pretty quick time, and they were really, really well used. We'll also be, as I said, the mobile outreach vans will be supporting the closure, so we'll have extended hours also at Spraden Library, and the mobiles will be able to attend retirement complexes and community hubs and schools where that's possible. And something that I think is very, very exciting that you may not have heard about is the work that we've been doing with QWB Lab. QWB stands for Quantum Wellbeing Lab. And we heard about them through the art gallery, our art gallery, who have done a piece of work with them. And what they do is they measure well-being and the well-being that people who attend cultural organisations like libraries, galleries and museums experience after a visit to one of those places. So it's what's really exciting to me about it is that it's always been hard for libraries and for sort of the cultural side of things to be able to evidence the impact that they have on their communities. It's and supported by data analytics and measurement. So we may be able to come back and tell you some more about this in the future. We've just received the full report, but it is so fantastic to be able to see some of the evidence of our impact on individuals and communities and on their well-being, and demonstrate the value that we give to the citizen dollar, basically. I would just like to read a couple of these comments that came through as part of this, the work that we did with QVB Lab from our public in Tūranga. So I should say it was done in Tūranga as a pilot, and also for us to get an idea about how Tūranga has worked, how it's doing in the eyes of the public and what could be improved. So some really amazing comments like, after a really busy, stressful day at work, I appreciate having a space where I can decompress and have some introvert time without needing to go all the way home to get it. It isn't always practical to go home before my evening activities, and Tūranga is just a great place to be. All libraries are good for me, but Tūranga, which I can bike to with my kids easily, is my happy place. It's my Tūranga waiwai, really. That the kids can play while I browse, we can connect every now and again over books, stop for something to eat in the cafe, go up to sit in the gardens on the top floor and look out over the city. All of this feeds my soul. Getting lots of writing done, reconnecting with the city centre, the satisfaction of using an accessible space where I'm reminded of others who are different to me. And I try to make it to Tūranga at least once a week. It's my mental health space. When I'm doing well, I get there once on my own and once with my kids. I think for me, visiting Tūranga is like how other people feel about going to church on Sunday. I think that's my favourite one. So yeah, this is something that I think is really fascinating. And once the full report has just landed, and it will be really great to look into that in some depth and to think about what we can do improvements-wise to make it an even better wellbeing experience. And we may also be able to do some work with the art gallery on what they've discovered and what we've discovered together. And just finally, on our web presence, the way we reach our communities online, 1,760,886 views of christchurchcitylibraries.com. And the top 5 pages, just for your interest, are information around Justices of the Peace services, learning Philippine greetings, Matariki for kids, the About Tūranga page, and how to join the library. So, and then also some variety of the 12 Newsline stories that we've added as well. So, sorry to have to race through that, but I was very aware of
very good.
How your attention spans may be at the end of a hard day.
Erica, thank you so much for your very positive presentation and being jumped in at the deep end. I certainly hope Carolyn gets better soon. She sounds like she's pretty crook. Do you want me to tell her that you did a lot better job than she does?
Just possibly comment.
No. but thank you very much. We've got some questions from Tyler, and then Sarah, then Mark.
Kia ora. Thank you so much for your report. My whānau frequents Upper Riccarton Library and Tūranga
Excellent.
every single week. And my wife actually buys a non-fiction book, and it's like a reality TV show. She'll update me every day on what's changed. For me, I'm more of a James Clear kind of guy, the Atomic Habits book, but a Simon Sinek. But irrespective of that, I just wanted to ask a few things. And the first one was the Reading to Dogs program. How's that going?
It's going really, really well. We could do it, if we had the dogs available, the time available, the resource essentially available, we could do a lot more of it. We've got our libraries clamouring for it because I think it's in 3 libraries at the moment, and libraries often ask, when's our turn? So it's fantastic.
I love hearing that. I saw that at Matatiki the other day. The next one is talking about the numbers, and I'm really interested in the native app usage with the libraries. How is that going? Do you have...
I'm afraid I don't know. I can't
That's
tell you,
okay.
but I can find out for you. So
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me take that away and I'll find out for you.
That's fine. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I wonder if any dyslexic dogs get above their station.
Yeah. Kia ora. Hey, thanks so much for the report. Really comprehensive. Just a quick question. The pop-up library for South Library at the Colombo, before it moves to Omokahi, that'll be able to get holds. So that's the key thing, isn't it? So people will be able to, even though it's a small collection, people will be able to choose what they want online and go and pick it up.
Absolutely.
Great.
If I'm wrong, I'm very sorry, but as far as I'm concerned, that's a key focus.
Yeah, if you're wrong, we'll just fix it and you'll be right. Yeah.
Thank you. And that was great seeing the update there on Matatiki. It certainly has been a hit in the community. Being very accessible, I think, is how people are seeing it with the pools and the library. It's a great space to have my councillor corner, which is really appreciated. Also, I'm getting some questions from some local justices of the peace, and at the moment we don't have justices of the peace services going into that library.
Okay.
Is there a possibility to investigate that?
Yep, there certainly is. Sometimes it comes from the justices of the peace. They say we have been asked, can we?
Yep.
Sometimes it comes from the community, so we certainly can.
Yep, and a number of times I get asked
Yep.
when I'm councillor corner, am I a justice of the peace? Is quite astounding. So there's obviously a bit of a, I guess, community expectation. So we don't want to take away from the old Hornby Community Centre, but if we can add some extra access, that would be quite useful.
I can
Okey-doke.
I
Right.
can certainly find out
I don't
for you.
pretend.
Thank you, Erica. That was absolute.
I was going to preface it with a paragraph, but I thought I might not do that, like everyone else. I just want to know what's happening with the slide. Karanga, obviously.
Yes, I believe it's still being evaluated. More that if we take it out, it's a huge piece of furniture. It's not just furniture; it's a huge piece of the building, really. That needs to come out with and then associated changes would need to be to be made in that space to make the best use of the space. And it's really sad for me because I was establishment manager for Tūranga and I know that it was asked for, particularly when we went out to the public in our engagement. I don't know which direction we will go in, whether it will be spreading our services out now that we know how that floor is used more, or whether there will be an opportunity for, hopefully, for something that is fun. May not be a slide or anything close to playground equipment, but the whole floor is fun, basically.
Okay. Okay,
You've
could I
certainly
get
seen them in a lot of other libraries.
Brilliant. We have a mover and seconder for this, so I'll put the receiving this report. Yes, you can.
Just want to thank you and your staff for the Colombo choice with regards to the temporary library. It's I think it's a fantastic venue for us. We originally looked at Barrington and Mall and others, but to put it there, I think is really, really excellent. So thank you very much for that. Cheers.
Good on you. And with that, I'll put the motion on that. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. That is carried. And thank you very much for coming in.
Good. Thank you
Brilliant.
so much for your attention. It was lovely to be able to get in front of you.
Now, we've got the highlight of the day.
No, that's right.
No. The mayor's report. Right. There's only really one thing that I really wanted. There's lots of things in there that you can read that I've been up to, but the best thing for me is getting that wastewater, all of us, thank you, getting the wastewater treatment plant across the line. $85 million. We did hear that some people were unhappy that it's going to take 3 years to fix, but we could have stuck with the old stuff, which I helped build 45 years ago, but it was old hat and we still would have had the odour. If we'd rebuilt that, it would have been 3 years. We decided to go for cutting-edge, up-to-date tech, which practically eliminates all the odour, and that'll take 3 years. No additional impact on rates because we'd allowed for a little bit in there. The best bit is a massive reduction in the council's greenhouse gas emissions. So these are all good things for the whole lot of us going forward as for a city. So if anyone's got any questions of anything else that's in here.
I don't believe you built it when you were 5.
It's not very often I'm stuck for words. Okay, so do I have to put that? Did it? No? Yeah. So I've moved it. Mark, just pick someone. Okay. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. That's carried. And so Karakia, please. Brilliant. Kia waka, kia tatapu, kia watia, ti te ara, kia tūturi, wata taratai, kia tūru, wata taratai, homie, uru, tara. Thank you very much for your attendance. Brilliant.